Chapter 1784. Delivered, she would conduct her rounds once every 3 to 5 years, diligently fortifying and refining her efforts each time. It was an achievable task. In the correspondence, they discussed Xiao Lulang's examination results. Despite ranking third from the bottom, it was still a commendable achievement. Xiao Xian beamed. Impressive that Xiao Lulang managed to secure a rank. The third branch must be bursting with pride. Third aunt-in-law must be positively beaming. Xiao Yinduan echoed her sentiment. Indeed, the third branch is elated, but with our mother here, they dare not overstep. Xiao Xian nodded in agreement. Without Ms. Fang's presence, eldest uncle might have been so overjoyed that he'd consider bequeathing more than half of the family's estate to the third branch. The conversation lingered on. Xiao Yunwan mentioned Xiao Lulang's lack of ambition to advance to the rank of intermediate advanced scholar, a sentiment Xiao Xian shared. As long as Xiao Lulang remained neither an advanced scholar nor an official, Xiao Xian worried about potential repercussions for Xiao Yunwan. Xiao Yunwan saw no issue. He had acquired ample study materials from Xiao Lulang and possessed a solid foundation. Passing the intermediate examination after a few days of dedicated study was well within his capabilities. Yet, advancing further posed a considerable challenge. It was worth noting that only 200 to 300 individuals were admitted as advanced scholars during the spring examinations. Not only did scholars from across the empire participate, but also seasoned veterans and previous candidates. The competition was fierce. He understood Xiao Lulang's limitations. In such a cutthroat intermediate competition, Xiao Lulang had no chance at all. Along with the letter from Yuezheng Xiao came the customary assortment of fruits. Mid-June marked the season for various fruits to ripen and be harvested. Yuezheng Xiao had already dispatched emissaries twice before, and this delivery marked the third. Dragon fruit, lychee, longan, mango, papaya, pineapple, honey peaches, and more overflowed from the 5 large baskets, as was customary. Harvested in the early morning and swiftly plucked from the trees, they arrived in An's province 2.5 days later, still impeccably fresh. The baskets, half the height of a man, brimmed to the top. How could Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan consume such abundance? 2 baskets were sent to Zheng Sang and the others, allowing them and Meng Wanfus entourage to savor these tropical delights not commonly found in the northern regions. Though modest, there was enough for everyone to sample a few lychee, dragon eyes, and a mango. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan retained 1 basket from the remaining 3, distributing some among the servants. The other 2 were dispatched to the court for Jia Hemming to sample, with a portion reserved for Mrs. Guan, who resided in the back office. It would be remiss not to share with her. In any case, such matters were inconsequential to them. On another note, despite having a surplus stored in her inner space, she could only indulge in these delicacies discreetly. Each time these shipments arrived, she covertly retrieved some for herself. Despite the orchard's expansion, the overall yield remained inadequate. On average, each fruit tree only yielded a few hundred mu. The output wasn't even sufficient for local consumption, let alone exportation. Fresh fruits weren't conducive to long-distance transportation, especially considering the rugged terrain, scorching weather, and lack of effective preservation methods, all of which would inevitably lead to significant losses. Naturally, immediate sale was the most pragmatic option. Chapter 1785. Estrangement. Though An's province and Yuzhong were a mere 500 miles apart, the road conditions were deplorable. Rarely did individuals from Yuzhong venture here, resulting in minimal interaction between the 2 regions. Furthermore, tropical fruits were scarce. Not a single specimen graced the markets of An's province, leaving its denizens oblivious to the existence of the luscious southern delights already adorning the Yuzhong market hundreds of miles away. Upon receiving the lychees, longans, mangoes, and dragon fruits at the government office, the scribes indulged, their eyes alight with delight as they lavished praise upon the fruits. This is lychee and longan. As for these mangoes and dragon fruits, I've never tasted anything like them. Truly delicious. Lord Xiao's generosity knew no bounds. To share such precious fruits with everyone was a gesture of unparalleled kindness. Deputy Prefect Guan, known for his fondness for good food, partook eagerly. Similarly impressed and envious, he couldn't help but jest. Lord Xiao's acquaintance must possess an abundance of such fruits. They've sent them here multiple times already. Lord Xiao's family must be weary of them. It's a shame we can't afford such luxuries, or else we could have requested more from Lord Xiao's friend Euro. His sarcasm was thinly veiled. Lord Xiao and his family must be tired of these leftovers, hence their arrival here. Why treat them like treasures? If Lord Xiao were truly sincere, wouldn't he have sent more? It was merely lip service. So why rejoice? They don't value you. They're simply discarding their excess. His words cast a pall over the gathering, each individual exchanging uncomfortable glances. However, given his position as deputy prefect, none dared to challenge him openly. They could only offer strained smiles and remain silent. Jia Hemming, who had a public falling out with him long ago, refused to humor him. With a sneer, he retorted, "So what if Lord Xiao's family is tired of them? That doesn't diminish the value of these fruits. Lord Xiao shared them with everyone, showing that he cares for us. Otherwise, why would he bother? We should be grateful. If it weren't for Lord Xiao, we wouldn't have the opportunity to taste such exquisite fruits in our lifetimes. If you don't appreciate them, that's your prerogative. But to demand more from Lord Xiao, that's beyond audacious. It's better if you don't offer them to me. ITLL spare us from hearing your endless sarcasm and complaints." Deputy Prefect Guan erupted in anger. "Jia Hemming, what are you insinuating? I never said that. Don't pin things on me just because you're close to Lord Xiao." Jia Hemming sneered back. "You know perfectly well whether I've falsely accused you or not." "You?" Most of the scribes sided with Jia Hemming, feeling that Deputy Prefect Guan had overstepped. Sensing an imminent confrontation, they hastened to intervene, attempting to smooth things over with diplomatic language. They couldn't afford a confrontation. Stirring up trouble would only draw Lord Xiao's attention, leading to unnecessary turmoil. Clearly apprehensive of the consequences, Deputy Prefect Guan refrained from leveraging his authority to chastise Jia Hemming. After uttering a few terse remarks, he stormed off in a huff. Jia Hemming harbored no ill will towards him and let the matter rest. Chapter 1786. Sooner or later, however, following this incident, Deputy Prefect Guan found himself even more diminished in the eyes of his peers. His abandonment of those who stood by him during adversity only served to highlight his lack of gratitude after reaping benefits. His sarcasm and dissatisfaction painted him as selfish and utterly devoid of empathy. Who would willingly associate with such a cold-blooded individual, if not for ulterior motives? Deputy Prefect Guan seethed with rage. As a deputy prefect, he had lost all semblance of prestige and dignity within the government office. Since the incident with the account book, contempt from Jia Hemming and his cohorts had intensified. Meanwhile, Lord Xiao effortlessly endeared himself to others. A few meager fruits were all it took to elicit gratitude from everyone. Truly remarkable. Although the spectacle concluded swiftly, Xiao Yunduan was aware of the incident. He chuckled at Deputy Prefect Guan's outburst, but didn't take it to heart. That was all that remained of his tolerance. He retained Deputy Prefect Guan solely to avoid further disruption until his wife gave birth. Yet, in the shadows, he was far from idle. His knowledge of the 3 prominent families and various bandit hideouts had expanded significantly, with ample evidence, including Deputy Prefect Guan's past deeds. Xiao Yunduan had initiated thorough investigations. His administration couldn't afford to harbor someone in the deputy prefect's position who didn't align with his agenda. His ending was already set in stone. Sooner or later, towards such a person, he naturally could not be bothered to argue with him over small matters. At the end of July, Qiao Xian, with her swollen belly, finally went into labor one night. Since July, the eastern courtyard of the state government had been diligently preparing. Midwives, baby clothes, swaddling blankets, gauze, cotton, and an array of medicines stood ready for any eventuality. 2 weeks prior, the midwives took up residence in the eastern courtyard, providing a sense of reassurance to all. After all, Xiao Xian could go into labor at any moment after July. Both novices, the couple couldn't contain their nerves, oscillating between joy and worry, each trying to shield the other from their own anxieties. Yet, their conflicting emotions were palpable. Finally, the awaited day arrived. When the midwives rushed in to announce that Madame's water had broken, a collective sigh of relief escaped their lips. It was time, but their relief was short-lived as nervousness crept in once more. "Don't be frightened, Euro." Xiao Yun sat by the bedside, gently holding Xiao Xian's hand. Addressing the midwives, he implored, "Take excellent care of my wife. Don't leave her side. He'll be outside. If you need anything, call for me. I've heard that childbirth can be excruciating. If my wife is in pain, please find a way to alleviate Ida Euro." The midwives concealed their amusement. Wasn't it common knowledge that childbirth was agonizing? Why else would it be likened to traversing the gates of hell, with some even teetering on the brink? They understood their lord's anxiety for his wife's well-being. Having resided in the state government office for over half a month, they witnessed firsthand his nervousness and adoration towards his wife. However, they couldn't voice their thoughts directly. Chapter 1787. About to give birth, Lord, rest assured. Madame's baby is positioned perfectly, and she's in excellent health. The delivery will undoubtedly be smooth. Indeed. Lord, you're overly concerned. I've delivered countless babies in my lifetime. Madame's condition is ideal. She'll be just fine. A Euro, of course. Labor pains are inevitable for every expectant mother. It's a small price to pay for the miracle of childbirth. ITLL passed quickly. Madam, this is your first child. Subsequent deliveries will be easier. Yes. The midwives prattled on, their nonsensical chatter soothing Xiao Xian's anxious heart. Childbirth wasn't a walk in the park. Even if Shed never experienced it firsthand, Shed witnessed the trials of labor. Especially in ancient times, with medical knowledge practically non-existent, childbirth was akin to surrendering to fate, relying solely on luck. Fear lingered, but it wouldn't deter her from the inevitable. Countless women had born children naturally. She could too. Xiao Yunduan felt a semblance of relief. He smiled at Xiao Xian. "You heard them, my dear. The midwives are seasoned professionals. If they assure us that everything will be fine, then it will be Euro. They'll be waiting eagerly for you and our child." Although Xiao Xian felt no abdominal pain, she dared not move, fearing the sensation of amniotic fluid trickling down. She looked up, smiling at Xiao Yunduan as she intertwined her slender fingers with his. "Understand. You can leave now." Euro giving birth was a vulnerable moment, and she didn't want him hovering over her every second. Besides, there was little he could do to assist. If he could, perhaps they could reconsider. Xiao Yunduan enveloped her in a tender embrace, planting a gentle kiss on her forehead before reluctantly pulling away, his heart pounding with a mix of emotions. He grasped her hands tightly, unable to tear his gaze away. His lips trembled, a torrent of feelings flooding his heart. Anticipation, excitement, tenderness, nervousness, worry. Countless words clamored for expression, but he struggled to find the right ones. "Euro, they'll be waiting for you." Xiao Xian's smile was reassuring. "Don't worry. I'm not worried. I'm not. And you shouldn't be either, Euro. Okay?" As they seemed to bid farewell for an uncertain duration, the two midwives sighed inwardly. Their lord and lady undoubtedly shared a strong bond, yet their parting was bittersweet. "Lord, it's best you leave now. Madam needs rest, and it's still early after her water broke." Yes. Lord, go attend to your duties. There's still time." Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. Too early? Confusion clouded his thoughts. He had anticipated the birth to be imminent. Xiao Xian shared his bewilderment. Despite her water breaking, she felt no contractions. Wasn't childbirth supposed to be excruciating? "Please go. I'll manage. We'll be just outside. I'm not going anywhere." Outright a euro after much coaxing. The midwives finally persuaded Xiao Yunduan to step out of the delivery room. Though he remained nearby, his heart remained tethered to Xiao Xian, waiting anxiously outside the door. Chapter 1788. Pain. In addition to the two midwives, Li Xiao was also present in the delivery room. Soon, Ms. Song and Ms. Miao, accompanied by Qiao Qiao and Qing Lian, arrived after receiving the news. The prospect of Madame giving birth filled everyone with joy and anticipation. After exchanging pleasantries with Xiao Yunduan, Ms. Song and Ms. Miao changed into clean attire, washed their hands, and hurried into the delivery room. Xiao Yunduan refused to leave the two midwives alone with Xiao Xian, despite their careful screening and assurance of competence. However, when the midwives mentioned that the process would be prolonged, they meant it. Xiao Xian drifted in and out of consciousness, sipping on chicken soup and millet porridge. As darkness descended, the room's lights grew brighter, and she finally felt the onset of labor pains. The pain intensified gradually, growing unbearable with each wave, akin to a relentless tidal surge. Xiao Xian clenched her teeth, her body tensing involuntarily with each wave of agony, leaving her dizzy and breathless. A strangled moan escaped her lips as she endured the excruciating pain of childbirth. Her distress seemed to rouse Xiao Yunduan's anxiety, his urgent voice barely audible through the door, prompting tears to well in her eyes. Chaos ensued in the delivery room. Ms. Song and Ms. Miao worked tirelessly to calm Xiao Yunduan, who was on the verge of bursting into the room. Meanwhile, Madame Xiao endured until her cervix fully dilated, much to the relief of the midwives. Upon hearing their assessment, Xiao Xian felt a glimmer of hope. She took a few sips of ginseng soup and endeavored to follow their instructions, determined to see the process through. The pain remained intense, but in this moment, there was hope. With determination, Xiao Xian persevered, and the delivery progressed smoothly. Within mere minutes, she sensed a release, her limbs relaxing instinctively. Before the haze of exhaustion lifted, she was greeted by the cries of her newborn and the jubilant laughter of the midwives and Ms. Song. "She's delivered the baby. It's a young master. Congratulations, Lord and Lady. Congratulations, Madam. Congratulations, Lord." Swiftly, the midwife swathed the infant in a soft crimson blanket and presented him to Xiao Xian with a beaming smile. "Behold, how handsome your young master is. His hearty cries signify his robust health. Born to parents like you and Lord Xiao, he's destined for a life of privilege and prosperity." The midwives chuckled, showering the newborn with praise. Though Xiao Xian could barely discern their words, her heart swelled with tenderness as she gazed at her son, a gentle smile gracing her pale features. This tiny being was her son, hers and Xiao Yunduan's. She had just brought him into the world. Chapter 1789. Child. This newborn was her most intimate kin, connected to her by blood euro, a treasure nurtured within her own body. A soft, contented warmth filled her heart, brimming with joy. She longed to reach out, to cradle him in her arms, to caress his tender skin with her fingertips. But her weakened state left her unable to raise her hand. With a gentle smile, one of the midwives carefully placed the child in the cradle beside her bed, while the other directed Li Xia and Ms. Miao to assist. Xiao Xian still had tasks ahead of changing clothes, tidying the bed. Eating euro, she would be occupied for some time. Ms. Song had hurried out to inform Xiao Yunduan of the wonderful news. In fact, the baby's cries had already reached outside. The delivery room door remained ajar, with only a lowered curtain for privacy. The atmosphere was jubilant. Upon hearing the news, everyone offered their congratulations to Madame for delivering a young master. Xiao Yunduan's youthful and handsome face radiated joy, his eyes sparkling with delight as he continued to praise. Upon learning of the proceedings within, he thanked Ms. Song before considering entering the room. "Thank you for your assistance, sister-in-law." Ms. Song smiled warmly. "My lord, your kindness knows no bounds. Without you and my wife, we wouldn't have managed. Witnessing the birth of the young master fills me with immense joy. You and Madam are truly blessed, and your fortunes will only multiply in the future." With these words, Ms. Song entered the room to lend a hand. Xiao Yunduan paced the hallway, his gaze flitting towards the room. Eventually, he found solace, though his smile remained irrepressible. At last, the weight of the joyous news settled firmly within him, and a smile tugged at his lips. He had a Soniyuro, a child born of their love. He had become a Fathero. He had yet to lay eyes on the little one his wife had brought into the world, but regardless of appearance, the child was their cherished treasure. Moreover, his wife was radiant with beauty. Surely, their little one would be equally adorably Euro. After patiently waiting for about half an hour, everything was finally in order. The bedding had been changed, rendering it clean and plush. Though Xiao Xian hadn't had the chance to bathe, she felt refreshed after wiping herself down with a dry towel and donning clean pajamas. It had been too long since she had felt such relaxation a Euro. It was utterly gratifying, akin to a rebirth. Nestled against the bed's headboard, she gazed fondly at her slumbering son in the cradle before her, her eyes brimming with warmth and adoration. She whispered to him in her heart, "Everything I've endured, it's all for you. Every hardship, every sacrifice willingly given. As long as you're healthy and safe, it's all worth it. You must thrive, Euro, my darling Euro." As Xiao Xian contemplated her baby, Xiao Yunduan entered the room. With Ms. Song, the midwife, Li Xia, and the others having departed, the family of three was left in solitude. Xiao Xian's eyes brightened. "Husband." Xiao Yunduan settled beside her on the bed, enveloping her in his arms. He tenderly caressed her face, sympathy evident for her pallor. Pressing a gentle kiss to her lips, he murmured, "Thank you for everything you've endured, Euro." Chapter 1790. Thank you. Despite the smooth delivery, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but feel a pang of fear at the sight of the blood on the other end. His wife had sacrificed so much and worked tirelessly for the birth of their child. This level of hardship wasn't fleeting Euro. It had endured for months. And yet, raising a child would prove even more challenging. The depth of his compassion deepened at the thought. Initially, Xiao Xian hadn't dwelled on it, but as she found solace in his embrace, she suddenly felt overwhelmed on the verge of tears. Xiao Yunduan pressed a tender kiss to her forehead, comforting her with gentle words as they lingered together before turning their attention to the baby in the cradle. The infant lay still, unable to move with his tiny hands. Xiao Xian dared not risk having him sleep on the bed beside Harayuro. What if the blanket covered his face, or if she accidentally shifted and pressed against him? After the midwife had instructed her to feed the baby, she nursed him until he drifted off to sleep, then carefully placed him back in the cradle. Beneath the soft blanket, his small head, delicate features, and dark hair were revealed as he slumbered peacefully, radiating an undeniable charm. "He's so cute." "Yes, he's still very obedient. I heard that babies love to bathe. Let's bathe him together in a few days, okay?" "Okay. However, he might be afraid when he enters the water. We have to let him hold our fingers. That way he should feel safe. He's still young." "How would he know this?" "Who said that? He understands." All right, I understand." A Euro, the two of them gazed at their baby with shared joy and wonder, their words overlapping in their excitement. After a while, Lichio and Lisha entered with stewed black chicken, red dates, and wolfberry soup. "Madam, have some." The midwife and Auntie Song mentioned that you need to replenish your blood. Xiao Yunduan accepted the bowl. "Pass it to me." After ensuring Xiao Xian had consumed half a bowl of chicken soup and eaten a few morsels of chicken, Xiao Yunduan rinsed her mouth and smiled. "Just lay back and get some rest. Take the baby to the room behind the partition and let Nanny, Lichio, and Kaiwa look after him. Don't worry." The choice of a nanny had already been made, as Xiao Xian wasn't certain if she would have enough breast milk, and there were no suitable baby formulas available. In such circumstances, finding a nanny was their best option. While the less fortunate could make do with whatever was available, Since they had the means to provide better, they couldn't settle for less. Nannies weren't easy to come by, and they needed to be arranged in advance. According to the midwife's advice, Xiao Xian would require a nanny's assistance too. Hearing his words, Xiao Xian felt conflicted and reluctant, but she knew she couldn't manage everything on her own. Exhausted, she glanced at the still sleeping baby and nodded. She mustered a smile and said, "You must be tired too. Go and rest. Of course, don't worry." Xiao Yunduan kissed her forehead and instructed the maid to carefully carry the cradle away. Xiao Yunduan longed to touch the child's face, but fearing his rough fingers might harm the delicate skin, he refrained from doing so. Observing Li Xia and the others wheeling away the baby's cradle, he tucked Xiao Xian in and offered her gentle reassurance before departing. Chapter 1791. Preparing to move at this moment, it was almost dawn. In the dark blue and black intermediate sky, the morning star was as dazzling as a diamond. It hung alone in front, its position so low that it seemed like it could be raised with a raise of its hand. It was almost dawn. Xiao Yunwan was so excited that he was no longer sleepy. He simply went to the study and sat down quietly. He wrote a few words and waited for dawn. He and Xiao Xian's baby was finally born smoothly. He was both happy that he was a beginner father and felt that this was a good sign and a good sign. His child was born successfully, and his wife seemed to be in good condition. After a few days of nourishment and confinement, her body was still very healthy. Then he could plan his next step. He could not continue like this. Sooner or later, he would be ready to take action. He had been in An's province for almost a year, but he had not done anything. He had taken control of the prefect's office and solved the problem of the rice seeds and the debt owed by the state office, which was nothing to Xiao Yunduan. Any one of these three questions was enough to crush a normal prefect, lured to the point where he had no choice but to submit. But for Xiao Yunduan, it was just a passive way to solve the problem. This was worlds apart from his beginner's heart. A dark greenish-white hue slowly emerged on the eastern horizon, gradually diffusing and intensifying until the sky brightened with the breaking dawn. As the new day began, the buzz of excitement swept through the city. Word quickly spread that Madame Xiao had given birth to a young master, making Lord Xiao a father. Commoners offered their heartfelt congratulations to Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. Under Lord Xiao's capable leadership, officials and landowners had fallen into line, abandoning their former bad habits and approaching matters with integrity. The once unruly three prominent families found themselves reined in by Lord Xiao's firm hand, earning him the wholehearted admiration of the populace. And to add to his accomplishments, Lord Xiao had swiftly overseen the harvesting of the grain upon his arrival. These seeds, transported through alternative channels by Lord Xiao himself, had flourished despite the year's typical weather conditions. The rice fields were now brimming with promising crops, a testament to Lord Xiao's foresight and resourcefulness. As the rice continued to grow, it became evident to everyone that this year's crop was flourishing exceptionally well. Surveying the fields, Xiao Yunduan marveled at the long, robust stalks of rice. Their substantial size and weight indicated a bountiful yield. According to seasoned farmers, this year's rice production was expected to surpass previous years by at least 30%. In particularly fertile fields, meticulously tended to by diligent workers, the increase in output was even more pronounced. The superiority of these crops was apparent when compared to the rice grown by wealthy landowners through their own channels. Food, the lifeblood of the people, took precedence above all else. The increased food production brought immense joy to the people of An's province, who expressed profound gratitude for Lord Xiao's benevolence. They credited him with coming to their aid like a bodhisattva. With Madame Xiao's successful childbirth and Lord Xiao's newfound fatherhood, the community rejoiced wholeheartedly. They extended their heartfelt wishes for the longevity and happiness of the entire Xiao family, including the newly arrived young master. Chapter 1792. Happiness. The news of Xiao Xian's successful delivery spread quickly among the prominent families, prompting them to dispatch women to deliver congratulatory gifts. Following Anne's province's customs, only close relatives and dear friends would attend the third birthday celebration, while the one-month-old celebration typically saw a broader circle of guests. During the confinement period, it was customary to send gifts and visit the mother's home to offer congratulations and support. Guests wouldn't bring gifts on the day of the banquet, as the host would have already prepared tokens of appreciation, usually in the form of wedding noodles and eggs. In light of this, the various families began preparing their gifts, organizing groups to send their regards. Upon learning of Xiao Xian's delivery, Mrs. Guan's heart sank. While she didn't wish harm upon Xiao Xian or the child, she harbored hopes of a difficult delivery, perhaps even near death. In her ideal scenario, the child would have been a girl, complicating Lord Xiao's sentiments and tarnishing the couple's relationship. Such an outcome would have brought her immense satisfaction. Unexpectedly, everything went smoothly with the delivery, much to Mrs. Guan's dismay. Not only was it Xiao Xian's first child, but both mother and son were safe, and the child was a boy. Mrs. Guan couldn't find it in herself to be pleased that Lord Xiao now had a legitimate heir. Despite her unhappiness, Mrs. Guan felt obligated to visit and express her concern, given her proximity to the family as the deputy prefect's wife. With gifts in hand and accompanied by Nanny Ding and Jinju, Mrs. Guan made her way to the east courtyard. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian had already awakened. Newly minted as a mother, she was brimming with excitement and couldn't sleep for long. Just as she had finished drinking some water and millet porridge, the baby woke up, prompting the attendants to tend to him. His cries were delicate and heart-rending, stirring empathy in anyone who heard them. Xiao Xian, separated from the commotion by a partition and screen, instructed Li Xia to inform the attendants that she would bring the child over later. The baby instinctively sought comfort in his mother's arms. As Xiao Xian gently patted him and spoke soothing words, the baby quieted down, finding solace in her familiar voice and heartbeat. With tearful eyes, he gazed at Xiao Xian, melting her heart with his innocence and vulnerability. She couldn't help but feel a surge of love for her son. What an endearing little creature he was. After nursing the baby and lulling him back to sleep, Xiao Xian entrusted him to the nanny, who carefully placed him in the cradle. Upon learning of Mrs. Guan's visit, Xiao Xian hastily instructed Li Xia and Li Qiu to help her freshen up, ensuring she looked presentable before welcoming their guest. Aware of the baby's fragility, having only recently emerged from the safety of his mother's womb, Xiao Xian was cautious about exposing him to the outside world and its array of bacteria. She hesitated to let outsiders near him, fearing he might not cope well with the new environment. For the next 10 to 20 days, she resolved to keep him shielded from visitors. The last thing she wanted was for any harm to befall him. As Mrs. Guan entered the room, she found Xiao Xian lying on the bed, a serene smile gracing her features despite the lingering paleness from her recent childbirth. Chapter 1793. Comprehension. She looked extremely energetic. Mrs. Guan got even more depressed. She forced a smile and greeted Xiao Xian with a smile. "Ayuro, Madam Xiao, you are so lucky." Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. After exchanging some pleasantries, Mrs. Guan expressed that she wanted to see the baby, but Xiao Xian turned her down. "The baby has just fallen asleep, and he will wake up very soon. I am sorry, but we can ask you to see him when he is 1 month old." Mrs. Guan didn't push to see the baby, but Xiao Xian's words left her feeling slighted. She sensed his subtle condescension and promptly masked her disappointment before bidding her farewell. Xiao Xian paid her reaction no mind, convinced that Deputy Prefect Guan's woes were just beginning. Even a deputy prefect finds trouble. Surely, she's not exempt. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunwan had intended to return home earlier to spend time with his wife and son, but office duties kept him busy until noon. Upon his arrival, he changed into fresh clothes as his wife had instructed. During this delicate time, they couldn't risk bringing any dust near their fragile baby. Xiao Xian smiled warmly as she saw him, her lack of inhibition evident. "Welcome back." Xiao Yunduan's gaze lingered on her, his heart quickening. It had been too long since they last shared intimacy. As any man would, He yearned for it. Carefully, he settled beside her on the bed, gently cradling their child. As he felt the softness of the swaddled bundle, happiness and tenderness flooded his heart. After feeding the baby, Xiaoxian put down her clothes and realized what she looked like in front of him. Stunned, she couldn't help but laugh. The contrast between being a mother and not was stark. In the past, she had never have felt so unhurried, let alone unembarrassed. Now, though, it all felt perfectly natural. Xiaoxian had a sudden realization. She used to judge mothers nursing in public harshly, seeing it as shameless. But now she understood. In this phase, maternal love took precedence. Everything else faded in comparison. This transformation felt organic yet inexplicably euro, a truth she couldn't deny. She imagined if Xiao Yunduan caught her nursing in public, she'd have blushed fiercely, unlike her current nonchalant demeanor. Xiao Xian gazed fondly at the baby in her arms, struck by his beauty. "Husband, would you like to hold him?" she offered, her eyes sparkling. Xiao Yunduan's face lit up, and he eagerly reached out his hand. However, after a few failed attempts, Xiao Yunduan withdrew his hand with a sheepish grin. "Maybe not. I'm afraid it'll be too clumsy." He couldn't help but marvel at the fragility of his son. Xiao Xian chuckled at his honesty, leaning comfortably against him. "Well, you'll have your chance when he's a bit sturdier." Okay. Chapter 1794. Not waiting anymore, the child was still too young to need a name, but Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask Xiao Yunduan with a smile, "What shall we call our son?" Xiao Yunduan had been pondering this all morning, so he replied with a smile, "I was just about to discuss this with you. Our son was born in An's province, and our foremost wish is for his safety and well-being above all else. Why don't we name him Anan?" In this place, safety truly outweighed all other considerations. The mountain bandits still posed a significant threat, like a looming tumor ready to burst at any moment. Despite their preparations, Xiao Yunduan couldn't guarantee an easy victory over them. The mountainous terrain was treacherous, and the bandits were cunning, entrenched, and numerous. Eliminating them wouldn't be a simple task. Previously, the injuries sustained by the Tigerhead tribe were not solely due to being surrounded, but also due to their own errors. They were outnumbered, underestimated the enemy, and were betrayed by their scouts who revealed their location. Yet, launching a proactive assault on the bandit stronghold was no easy feat otherwise. Its province wouldn't be in its current state, and the imperial court wouldn't have tolerated it for so long. In their previous interactions, Xiao Yunduan had only demonstrated his strength and reluctance to be trifled with, urging everyone to mind their own business. But that wasn't enough for him. He was determined to crack this tough nut. Conquering the bandits would not only secure his promotion, but also provide a fallback plan. Even if he couldn't recover from his current predicament, no one would dare to cross him lightly. At that moment, he had the freedom to choose his path: advance or retreat, ensuring the safety of his family. The entrenched bandits posed a significant threat to An's province, and as an ambitious young official, Xiao Yunduan was eager to make a difference for the local people. Peace. It seemed like a simple concept, but achieving it here was anything but easy. Yet, it was the most heartfelt wish and the ultimate aspiration. Xiao Xian grasped the depth of Xiao Yunduan's intentions, her heart softening as she nestled against his arms. Anan is a wonderful name, indeed. Anan, stay safe, my love. We'll be all right. Yes, we will, he affirmed. Their smiles met in silent agreement before they shared a tender kiss. After their moment together, Xiao Yunduan arranged for someone to take the child to rest. He had one more matter to discuss with Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian instructed the nanny, Aunt Zhu, to care for Anan, entrusting her to the capable hands of Kai Ming and Kai Yun, who were responsible for her well-being. Anan proved to be a finicky eater, only willing to nurse from Xiao Xian herself. Despite Aunt Zhu's efforts, Anan adamantly refused to feed from her. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned her head away, rejecting the offered breast. With limited milk production, Xiao Xian resorted to spoon-feeding Anan milk from a bowl, finally coaxing her to eat. Wife, the autumn harvest is approaching, which means heavy taxes. The Fan family, with their vast lands, will likely lead the resistance and cause trouble. I see an opportunity to address this issue along with Deputy Prefect Guaniro. It was clear they couldn't allow vermin like Deputy Prefect Guan to persist into the new year. Chapter 1795. Tax Xiao Yinhuan knew he couldn't confront the bandits without first rooting out the corruption within the state office. An attack from both inside and out could spell disaster. Xiao Xian wholeheartedly agreed. To tackle external threats, they had to address internal ones first. It was imperative to deal with Deputy Prefect Guan and his cronies before they could effectively combat the bandits. By the time she emerged from confinement, she'd be able to lend her support in handling the bandits. Since giving birth, Xiao Xian felt her powers gradually returning, perhaps even stronger than before. If you have a plan, go ahead. They'll take care of Anan. We rarely venture out, so don't worry about us, she assured him. Xiao Yunduan gently held her hand, his expression pained. I must confess, my actions may disrupt Anan's 1-month celebration. I feel guilty towards you and our son. Naturally, he wished for their eldest son's celebration to be a joyous occasion. Yet, once he initiated action, there was no telling if someone would exploit the event to cause trouble. Xiao Xian's response was immediate and understanding. Anan won't hold it against you, and neither will I. We understand what truly matters. Besides, having Deputy Prefect Guan's family residing in the West Yard isn't appropriate. I hope they vacate soon. Living in close proximity within the state office compound meant frequent interactions, which heightened Xiao Xian's concern, especially now with a newborn. The infant was too fragile to withstand even minor mishaps. Their safest option was to compel Deputy Prefect Guan's family to leave. Yet, they were entitled to reside in the government office compound, making eviction without cause impractical. Unless Deputy Prefect Guan ceased to hold his position, their situation remained unchanged. Moreover, there was no need to delay any longer. With the child safely born and Xiao Xian gradually recovering, action could be taken. Surely, they couldn't allow Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang's associates to linger indefinitely. As time passed, the risk of their presence being discovered increased, diminishing their effectiveness as a surprise asset. Though Xiao Yinduan knew Xiao Xian would support his decision, he couldn't shake the guilt. Gently, he touched her face, offering reassurance. Reminding himself to treat her kindly, he vowed to do just that. The following day, Xiao Yinduan convened a meeting with Deputy Prefect Guan, Jia Heming, and other officials to discuss post-harvest taxation. As per Great Qin's regulations, families were obligated to pay taxes in the form of public grain, determined by the quantity and quality of their lands and crops. Even noble families enjoyed only partial tax exemptions, with the rest payable in taxes. While some noble families skirted the rules to some extent, the imperial court typically turned a blind eye to minor infractions. However, concrete evidence left no room for escape. An's province's past accounting records were murky, susceptible to investigation. Any revelations would throw the entire province into disarray, rendering it ungovernable. Thus, Xiao Yinduan had refrained from delving into the past, opting instead to publicly address the issue, providing a semblance of reassurance to the populace. Chapter 1796. Fan family, however, starting this year, adherence to the laws of the Great Qin Empire and the regulations of the state government became imperative. Although the large and small family clans associated with the 3 major families were reluctant, they dared not defy them. They simply followed their lead, albeit begrudgingly. Previously, the situation had been manageable, but with the imminent autumn harvest, it became evident that the Fan family, boasting a vast plantation spanning 150,000 acres, would face substantial tax obligations under Great Qin law. Aware of Old Lady Fan's formidable character and the strained relationship between the Fan family and Lord Xiao and his wife, many eagerly awaited the outcome of this impending tax collection. Xiao Yinduan convened a meeting with the deputy prefect and outlined 2 directives. Firstly, they were to verify the acreage of fertile land in An's province, ensuring it aligned with government records. Secondly, Preparations for post-harvest tax collection were to be made. Given the tight time frame, it was impossible to conduct thorough investigations across all families from the major clans to the affluent households. In reality, as long as the three major families cooperated, the compliance of other families was assured. However, the pivotal question remained, would the three great clans, especially the Fan clan, cooperate? As Xiao Yunduan broached the subject, silence enveloped the room. After a moment, he glanced at his colleagues. This matter concerns the stability of In's province and each one of us. Does anyone have anything to add? Taxation was essential for funding various public projects vital to the welfare of Anne's province's residents, including infrastructure repairs, canal maintenance, and provisions for emergencies like famine or shortages. Initially, a portion of the taxes collected across various regions was expected to be remitted to the national treasury. However, In's province operated under unique circumstances. For over a decade, it hadn't forwarded any taxes to the imperial court. Naturally, the imperial court wasn't inclined to provide funds to Anne's province without justification. The province had to rely on its own resources. Any prefect daring enough to request funds for food distribution risked investigation by imperial officials. Failure to justify such requests would spell trouble for the prefect. It was deemed unreasonable for a region to be self-sufficient without contributing taxes. Consequently, prefects refrained from petitioning the imperial court for financial aid, preferring instead to borrow from local affluent individuals. Given the prevailing submission, dissent was unheard of. Yet, Anne's province defied conventional norms. Here, strength often trumped logic. Xiao Yunduan grinned. In that case, let's proceed as follows. Deputy Prefect, you'll oversee the land inspection. Within 10 days, we'll scrutinize the holdings of the three major families. Prior to the autumn harvest and tax collection, I expect all families with over 300 mu of land to undergo examination. Chapter 1797. Pulling together, handle this matter separately. Personally oversee the inspections of the three major clans. If any issues arise, inform me promptly, understood? Xiao Yunduan instructed. Deputy Prefect Guan seethed inwardly. What would he do? Certainly not this. Wasn't this essentially setting him up to offend someone and face the consequences? In the past, he might have agreed without hesitation. It would have been easy, just a matter of deceiving them. But now, he doubted he could deceive Lord Xiao. Were the three great clans individuals he could afford to offend? He certainly didn't want to provoke their ire. What would he gain from offending them? He could kiss any hopes of skimming from tax collections goodbye. Given the circumstances, why subject himself to such a thankless task? Yet, he couldn't refuse. His previous mistake had been convalescing for so long that Lord Xiao had capitalized on his absence to suppress his allies and consolidate power. By the time he returned, it was too late. Now, with Lord Xiao assigning him a task and him citing illness, it would only broadcast his fear and incompetence to everyone. Life in the state office would become even more unbearable. His already dwindling prestige would likely vanish entirely. My lord, entrusting me with this task demonstrates your trust and regard. I accept your orders willingly. However, I do have a request. Please assign Jia Hemming and Jia Shuming to assist me. Grant me this favor, he requested. If he were to fall, he wouldn't let Jia Hemming bear the burden alone. The scribes exchanged knowing glances with their peers, silently acknowledging the deputy prefect, Lord's astuteness. Xiao Yunduan turned his gaze towards Jia Hemming. Internally, Jia Hemming sneered. Rising from his seat, he bowed to Xiao Yunduan. My lord, I have always been eager to assist you and serve the people of Anne's province. Am more than willing to take on this responsibility. You've made the right choice. Xiao Yunduan exclaimed with a hearty laugh, nodding in approval. In that case, you'll collaborate with Deputy Prefect Guan. Proceed with haste. Should you require additional manpower, enlist support from the government office. You have my backing. Thank you, my lord. Deputy Prefect Guan grew weary of hearing Xiao Yunduan's praise. While he remained indifferent to Lord Xiao's compliments. He couldn't stomach witnessing praise lavished upon others, particularly Jia Heming. With the matter settled, word of it quickly spread throughout An's province, disseminating to the 17 subordinate towns. The Mei family possessed the smallest tract of fertile land, concealing a mere 2,000 mu. However, they hadn't intentionally obscured this information. It simply hadn't been worth the trouble to register with the government. Regardless, their tax payments were deemed acceptable, sparing them from serious scrutiny. The Mei family viewed the issue as inconsequential, intending to rectify it in due course. They deemed it unwise to engage in conflict with the prefect, lord, over such a trivial matter. Similarly, the Hua family, ever cautious, found themselves in a similar predicament. They neglected to record land acquisitions out of convenience, confident they could rectify any oversights when necessary, all while maintaining cordial relations with Lord Xiao. Given Lord Xiao's formidable reputation, the Fan family, still nursing resentments from prior misfortune, opted to refrain from provoking further ire. Chapter 1798, deliberately targeting thankfully, Lord Xiao proved to be a reasonable man, refraining from exploitation or seeking undue favors. Consequently, the burden on their shoulders remained manageable. Only bandits would dare openly defy the government's authority. Such behavior was simply unheard of, especially on the surface. However, if the Fan family managed to astound and excel in this endeavor, they stood to gain significantly. It was a scenario to hope for. The Hua brothers exchanged jests in private, pondering the unpredictable tactics Old Lady Fan might employ this time. With a vast expanse of 200,000 mu of fertile land, the Fan family's decision not to utilize government-provided seeds resulted in a yield akin to the previous year, roughly 600 caddies per mu. Yet, in this water valley terrain, the transformation process yielded approximately 70 to 75 caddies of dry valley per 100 caddies of water valley. Consequently, the output translated to around 430 to 440 caddies per mu of dry valley. Calculated against the tax rate of 30 per grain imposed by Great Qin, the Fan family faced a staggering obligation of nearly 289 to 3 million caddies of grainero, a substantial sum by any measure. Naturally, the Fan clan would not acquiesce readily. Even if Lord Xiao proposed a compromise, suggesting they pay half, the Fan family would undoubtedly resist. In previous instances, their contributions ranged merely from 300,000 to 500,000 caddies, and even then, only after extensive negotiations with the prefect's representatives. Now, confronted with a demand for 3 million caddies, the spectacle promised to be grand indeed. The Hua brothers found themselves slightly exhilarated by the unfolding drama. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan seethed with indignation. This was simply intolerable. Old Lady Fan was convinced that Lord Xiao had deliberately targeted the Fan family. It was widely acknowledged throughout An's province that the Fan family possessed the most fertile land. So, why would Lord Xiao choose this particular moment to exert pressure on them? If it wasn't for personal gain, what could possibly be his motive for singling out the Fan family? What added insult to injury was the glaring realization that, despite their awareness of Lord Xiao's self-serving actions, the Fan family felt powerless to openly confront him. Adding to their frustration, Xiao Yunwan had supplied superior rice seeds this year, and although the Fan family had initially intended to inconvenience him by borrowing seeds elsewhere, the plan backfired spectacularly. Not only did Xiao Yunwan resolve the issue effortlessly, but he also obtained significantly better rice seeds than the Fan family. Each mu of farmland using Xiao Yunduan seeds boasted an increase in production of at least 30%. The implications were staggering. If the Fan family had utilized government-provided rice seeds, their harvest this year would have been monumental. This revelation left the leaders of the Fan family, including Old Lady Fan, seething with rage, bordering on physical illness. Behind closed doors, they became the subject of ridicule and mockery. To exacerbate matters, Fan Rian, in front of Madame Lady Qiao, unleashed a torrent of accusations, insinuating that Lord Xiao had intentionally deceived the Fan family. Despite possessing superior rice seeds and being aware of the Fan family's extensive planting endeavors, Lord Xiao failed to inform or assist them in any way. Such neglect, such incompetence as parents. Now, to compound their misery, Lord Xiao showed no remorse and had the audacity to demand taxes from the Fan family. It was the height of tyranny. Old Lady Fan concurred vehemently. She doubted whether the Fan family would have even accepted the rice seeds had Xiao Yunduan offered them, even if they had to beg. The notion of purchasing them was out of the question a year ago, free or not. The Fan family would have rejected them outright. Thus, when the Mei family and the Hua family sent their female representatives with gifts to congratulate Lord Xiao, the Fan family remained conspicuously silent, biding their time. Chapter 1799. The Fan family won't go, this wouldn't suffice. With the birth of Lord Xiao's son, the Mei family and the Hua family had already paid their respects. Numerous other esteemed families had followed suit. It would be deemed improper for the Fan family to abstain. Refusing to attend would invite ridicule, painting them as petty and small-minded. Both madams of the Fan family were irked by mother-in-law's obstinacy and lack of decorum. Yet, attempting to sway her would only result in further conflict, ensuring their own reluctance to attend. Should they relent and attend, they would undoubtedly face reprimand. As seasoned grandmothers, they harbored no inclination to endure such admonishment. The two old masters of the Fan family found themselves powerless to influence their wives in this matter. Laden with guilt and devoid of recourse, they resolved to act independently. Their efforts, however, were swiftly met with their mother's scathing reproach. "What are you thinking? That Xiao character harbors ill will toward our Fan family. Despite our strained relations, he deigns to offer congratulations? You two disappointments. Will you present your other cheek after being slapped? You two are utterly insufferable. Even Immerse shows more spine than you. You bring disgrace upon our family. You are forbidden from attending. The Fan family shall not stoop to such servility." The two old masters endured the barrage of scolding, their chests tight, vision dimming. Shame and resentment coursed through them, but they gritted their teeth and endured. Such was the burden of filial obligation. Were she not their mother by blood, fisticuffs might have ensued long ago, yet Fan Rin's incendiary words only served to stoke the flames. "Elder brother, second brother, it's plain to see that Lord Xiao is exploiting our family's position. If we extend further courtesies, we only diminish our dignity and embolden his arrogance. Don't blame me for my ire. If you have the time to dwell on this, why not devise a strategy to address Lord Xiao and curb his arrogance? That would be in the best interest of the Fan family." These words held undeniable truth. Resolving this matter amicably was imperative to mitigate the Fan family's losses. Yet, upon hearing Fan Rian's admonition, the two old masters of the Fan family felt an overwhelming sense of revulsion. For the 108th time, they lamented their decision to allow this woman into their family. Why hadn't they married her off instead? Regret consumed them. Consequently, the entire city became aware that the Fan family abstained from presenting gifts to Lord Xiao. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan remained indifferent. The absence of the Fan family was a relief, sparing them any concern. On the day of the baby's birth, Xiao Yunduan dispatched messengers to spread the joyful news to Yuzhong. The Yuezheng family expressed their happiness upon hearing the news and relayed it to Shouting Village. Despite her son, daughter-in-law, and grandson's absence, Ms. Fong radiated joy in the village. She paid respects to their ancestors and planned several small banquets to honor the land officer, village elders, and those close to them. Furthermore, she requested the Yuezheng family to deliver clothing, shoes, socks, swaddling clothes, longevity locks, gold bracelets, red dates, and cubelos for the expectant mother. Ms. Fong also gifted Xiao Xian 500 taels of silver, a gesture of respect despite knowing she lacked nothing. Ms. Yin and Mei Qing, considerate as ever, prepared gifts for each family member, entrusting the Fan family to deliver them accordingly. Chapter 1800. fruit First Madam shared in Xiao Xian's joy, having meticulously prepared an array of supplements and items for the baby, eagerly anticipating Yuezhing Xiao's next visit. In First Madam's eyes, the bond between Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had already solidified, and the birth of their eldest son only served to fortify her position further. Yuezhing Xiao arranged for fruits to be brought over, though longan fruits and lychees were no longer in season. However, there were still mangoes, dragon fruits, papayas, bananas, kiwis, grapes, cantaloupes, watermelons, and peaches available. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan greeted Yuezhing Xiao warmly, deeply touched by the thoughtful gift from their family. While she lacked nothing materially, Xiao Xian found solace and warmth in her family's genuine concern. The sense of being cherished and missed was profoundly comforting. Conversely, the attitude of "since you have everything, I won't give it to you," proved to be the most disheartening. Yet, Yuezhing Xiao found himself occupied as well. He stayed for 2 nights, marveling at the newborn before returning home. He had pledged to attend the 1-month-old celebration, fulfilling his promise. Simultaneously, he sought to convey his mother's desire to attend. However, he pondered its appropriateness. Xiao Xian held a deep respect and gratitude towards First Madam Lu Zheng. Naturally, she hoped First Madam Lu Zheng could attend the baby's 1-month-old banquet, alongside all the shouting village family members. Unfortunately, it was not the opportune time. It would be deemed inappropriate. Anne's province was not safe yet, and there would be too many people around. If someone sneaked in and she and Xiao Yunduan could not take care of them, it would be very troublesome. You would never know what was coming next. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had no choice but to turn him down. Apparently, Yuezhing Xiao had already expected that this would happen. He did not mind it at all. Instead, he comforted them with a smile. "Lord Xiao and sister-in-law, don't feel guilty. It is indeed not convenient for my mother and the others to come to Anne's province right now. We can ask old Madam Xiao and the old master of the Xiao family to come with us when we have the chance." Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan looked at each other and nodded with a smile. "Yes, when this place is settled, we will invite elder aunt and mother-in-law here." Yuezhing Xiao laughed and left. Yuezhing Xiao had brought a lot of fruits, which was what the First Madam had reminded him about. She said that Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were going to have a lot of guests, so they should send more fruits to the guests. Yuezhing Xiao agreed, so he brought 8 baskets of fruits. In fact, it was more than useful. It was simply too honorable. Whenever guests arrived to offer their congratulations, Xiao Xian instructed Li Xia and the others to present them with the rare fruits. These fruits were truly a novelty to the people of Anne's province, who marveled at their exotic appearance and relished their unparalleled flavor. Enhanced by Xiao Xian's unique abilities, the fruits became even more delectable and aromatic, earning endless praise from all who tasted them. For the Hua family and Mei family, who had graced their home before, Xiao Xian arranged for specially curated fruit baskets to be prepared as tokens of appreciation. However, for other visiting families, Xiao Xian chose not to extend such offerings. As the wife of the prefect, Xiao Xian operated within the realm of reason and personal preference. Given her status and authority, few would dare to question the fairness of her actions. The distinction between the 3 prominent families and others was simply a matter of practicality and natural inclination. After all, it was only human nature to accord special treatment to those of significant influence and stature. Who would dare to object? Chapter 1801. All wanted Xiao Xian remained indifferent to whether she pleased everyone or not. In their pursuit of fairness, they risked being perceived as weak or easily manipulated. The perception that they were easily bullied lingered among some guests. Xiao Xian took the opportunity to offer the guests rare and precious fruits, emphasizing that only she and the Yuezhing family possessed these fruit trees. With a vast orchard in Yuzhong, she planned to acquire more fruit trees next year to experiment with planting Euro strawberries and dragon fruit seemed promising, as she had already successfully cultivated them in her backyard. The strawberries, particularly prized and delicate, were only available locally, as transporting them over long distances was impractical. Guests savored the seasonal fruits, relishing the opportunity to taste them firsthand. Xiao Xian's announcement stirred emotions, prompting some to express interest in reserving fruit trees in advance for Madame Xiao, regardless of quantity. Xiao Xian responded graciously, indicating her willingness to share if circumstances allowed. Furthermore, she contemplated establishing an orchard on their premises, provided the soil and water conditions were suitable. The revelation endeared Xiao Xian to the guests, fostering a sense of closeness and prompting them to adopt more courteous and friendly diminuendo, even if some were merely feigning. No one was oblivious to the fact that offending Madame Xiao or jeopardizing their relationship with her could forfeit their chance to acquire a share of the coveted fruit trees. Moreover, when Xiao Xian shared the fruits with the scribes, their inquiries revealed that no one else besides the Yuezheng family and Madame Xiao possessed such unique fruit trees. The Yuezheng family was a big family, so no one dared to do anything to them. Some people also wanted to buy fruit trees, but the Yuezheng family refused. They didn't even sell the fruits to them. After all, the Yuezheng family had said that the fruits were very precious, and they couldn't afford to buy them at a high price. Seeing that they had come all the way here, it was already good enough to share a few to taste the euro hence. Everyone felt regretful. He also vaguely understood that Madame Xiao would have to talk to him about these euro now that Madame Xiao had taken the initiative to convey the message. It was clear to all who wouldn't understand. Those privileged enough to offer their congratulations at the prefect's office hailed from distinguished backgrounds. With ample resources at their disposal, they readily embraced the opportunity for indulgence. After all, the allure of longan fruits, lychees, mangoes, mangosteens, strawberries, and more was undeniable. Once tasted, their exquisite flavors lingered in memory, leaving an enduring longing. It was only natural to avoid offending Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao in such circumstances. The Fan clan seethed with renewed anger. While other families dutifully paid their respects at the state office, the conspicuous absence of the Fan family served as a pointed protest against Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. However, they did not anticipate that attendees would be treated to the exquisite taste of such precious fruits. Two scribes, previously gifted with lychees, longans, and dragon fruits, shared their bounty with the Fan family. Delighted by the flavors, even old lady Fan indulged in a taste. Fan Ruyan and her daughter, Bai Rurei, developed a particular fondness for lychees and longans. Despite efforts to procure more through the housekeeper, their quest remained unfulfilled. Chapter 1802. On purpose, Fan Ruyan and her mother harbored deep dissatisfaction. Upon learning that, aside from the Xiao family and the Yuezheng family, no one else possessed these fruits, they reluctantly resigned themselves to the situation. Attempting to threaten Lord Xiao was futile. The Yuezheng family status transcended mere familial ties within An's province. Despite the Fan family's influence, they were powerless to alter the situation. Moreover, the Yuezheng family's comparable power level only exacerbated the Fan family's frustration. To add insult to injury, before they could extend their congratulations at the state office, they were denied the opportunity to taste the prized fruits. Their indignation heightened when they learned that Madame Xiao had generously sent 2 large fruit baskets to the Mei family and the Hua family. Laden with mangoes, kiwis, bananas, dragon fruits, mangosteens, and the most precious strawberries, the baskets were overflowing. Rather than framing it as a reciprocal gift, Madame Xiao described it as a special treat for them to enjoy. The conspicuous omission of the Fan clan stung like a slap to the face. Old Lady Fan seethed with fury. Fan Ruyan accused Xiao Xian of arrogance and disrespect towards the Fan family. Upon hearing of this, Xiao Xian forthrightly admitted that she lacked sufficient fruits but pledged to share with the Fan family if more were available. However, priority would be given to guests and the 3 congratulatory families. Any surplus fruits would then be allocated to those who had not received them during the congratulations. The implication was clear. Fairness would be upheld, but the Fan family, as newcomers, would not be prioritized. This rationale only fueled Old Lady Fan and her daughter's ire even further. It's evident that Lord Xiao abused his power for personal gain, publicly humiliating and bullying our Fan family first. When we stood up in protest, they twisted the narrative to make it seem like we were the instigators. As expected, they'll let them do as they please. Mother, our family can't afford to retreat or admit defeat this time. Otherwise, we'll lose our standing in An's province. Fan Ruyan seethed with fury. A person of great dignity, she had presumed that her respected and flattered status in An's province would guarantee different treatment from Madame Xiao. Unexpectedly, Madame Xiao did not treat her differently. She had harbored resentment for some time and was biding her time. What Fan Ruyan failed to realize was her own arrogance and obstinacy. Old Lady Fan's protective nature and the Fan family status as one of the three prominent families in An's province shielded her from disobedience or flattery from smaller clans. The Mei family and the Hua family were well aware of her personality and typically avoided confrontation. Furthermore, she hesitated to push too far with them, fearing repercussions. Unbeknownst to Fan Ruyan, many women tolerated and flattered her outwardly while secretly plotting her downfall. Just wait and see. One day, someone will teach her a lesson. And now, that day seemed to have arrived, with countless individuals silently applauding behind her back. Old Lady Fan remained resolute on the matter of taxes. 3 million kilograms of dry grains equated to a considerable sum, given the current market prices. No family would willingly part with such a significant amount of wealth without just cause. Chapter 1803. Think of a way more importantly, this cycle of losses would persist indefinitely into the future, resulting in significant long-term repercussions. Adding to the strain, the relationship between the Fan family and Lord Xiao had deteriorated to the point where they couldn't afford any further loss of reputation. Old Lady Fan concurred, summoning her 2 sons and inquiring about any viable solutions they might have devised. Their plan had initially revolved around a private meeting with Lord Xiao, offering him increased benefits compared to previous years in a plea for leniency. Yet, despite their efforts, when Lord Xiao greeted them warmly, he steadfastly refused their offerings, opting instead to lecture them tirelessly on the laws of the Great Qin Empire. The elder members of the Fan family found themselves rendered speechless, their chests constricted with tension. First, Old Master Fan clenched his teeth, realizing that even doubling the benefits promised to Lord Xiao failed to sway him. Meanwhile, a bitter smile crept onto the face of the other elder, First Old Master Fan, as he acknowledged Lord Xiao's indifference to their modest offerings. It seemed evident that such a trifling sum held no allure for him, especially considering his substantial wealth, which surpassed 600,000 taels of silver without hesitation. With covert operations ruled out, the 2 elders reluctantly abandoned their initial strategy, compelled to explore alternative avenues. Even in the absence of their mother's prompting, they were already racking their brains to devise a solution. After all, enduring such annual losses over an extended period was simply untenable. Learning of their failed attempt to persuade Xiao Yunduan, Old Lady Fan's expression soured with a mixture of anger and disdain. Why must you subject yourselves to such humiliation? Lord Xiao will not yield unless we offer him everything we possess. Mother speaks the truth. Elder brother, second brother, your judgment has faltered. Are you not aware of the true nature of Lord Xiao and his wife? Do you not grasp how they regard our family? Why must you persist in this futile endeavor? In my estimation, even if we were to seek an audience, Lord Xiao would remain elusive. Would it not be wiser to approach Deputy Prefect Guan instead? The 2 elder members of the Fan family were taken aback, a realization dawning upon Themiuro's second Old Master Fan furrowed his brow once more. But can Deputy Prefect Guan assist us, considering his responsibilities over field investigations and tax collection? Old Lady Fan scoffed, her tone sharp. Isn't that convenient? Precisely because he oversees these matters, it's fitting. Ha! Deputy Prefect Guan has been stationed in An's province for a decade. What doesn't he know? I refuse to believe there's no one loyal to him within the government office. If he truly wished to conceal something from that Xiao character, it would be child's play. Why didn't you too consider this? Thankfully, we have the insight of the younger generation. The countenances of the two elder fan masters soured. Yet, Fan Rian interjected with a smile. Mother, don't fault elder brother and second brother. It simply slipped their minds momentarily. Besides, as a member of the Fan family, it's my duty to contribute. Hee hee. I always knew you were capable and dutiful. The two elder Fan masters remained silent, their spirits dampened. Having failed to secure an audience with Xiao Yinduan, they hesitated to approach Deputy Prefect Guan directly. Instead, they dispatched a representative to gather information about the inner workings of the office. Failure to devise a successful strategy would leave them with few alternatives. After all, who would willingly abandon such a significant matter without exerting every effort? Their inquiries, however, yielded increasingly shocking revelations. Having no official ties to the government, they had paid scant attention to the affairs of the state office. Their knowledge was limited to the reputation of Lord Xiao's authoritarian rule and the exodus of many long-standing officials and scribes from the government office. Chapter 1804. Their doneness was a common occurrence. As the saying goes, a new emperor brings new ministers. Who could fault Lord Xiao for strategically placing his own allies within the government office? Such tactics were par for the course. However, what caught them off guard was the outcome of the clashes between Lord Xiao and Deputy Prefect Guan. Despite Deputy Prefect Guan's efforts to assert his authority, both openly and covertly, he found himself outmaneuvered time and again by Lord Xiao, suffering significant setbacks in the process. The bitterness welled up within the two brothers. Would seeking assistance from Deputy Prefect Guan truly yield any results? They couldn't afford to risk everything and come back empty-handed. Reflecting on the rumors they had heard about Xiao Yunduan's immense wealth and his victories over the Tiger Head tribe, the Fan brothers decided to reassess their approach. Their astute business instincts warned them that this venture held little promise. If this trend persisted, it could spell the end of truly. Lord Xiao defied the mold of any previous prefect Lord while they were not yet won over by him. Why did the Fan family feel compelled to stand out? Wouldn't it be wiser to bide their time, waiting for an opportune moment to capitalize on the situation? After deliberation, the brothers briefed Old Lady Fan on their conclusions. But Old Lady Fan dismissed their findings, berating them once more. She even suggested that if they were unwilling to exert themselves for the sake of the Fan family, they should personally compensate for the losses each year from their own pockets. Incensed, the two elder Fan masters grappled with conflicting emotions. Why should they foot the bill while benefiting another family? Feeling a mix of disappointment and indignation, they resolved to reach out to Deputy Prefect Guan themselves. What harm could a few attempts do? Why not take the chance? Old Lady Fan seethed with fury. Coincidentally, Jia Hemming made his third visit of the day, requesting the Fan family's cooperation with the field and land investigation. Jia Hemming's demeanor this time was notably stern. Armed with documents from Xiao Yinduan, he handed them over to the Fan family's butler. His resolute stance made it clear that he intended to commence comparing documents the following morning, scrutinizing discrepancies. Should the Fan family refuse to cooperate, he warned, bailiffs would be compelled to enter the premises. Old Lady Fan's anger surged. She ordered the gatekeeper to eject Jia Hemming from the premises. After all, Lord Xiao held the position of prefect. While she might be powerless against him, she couldn't tolerate such insolence from a mere underling. The Fan clan hadn't sunk so low as to endure such disrespect. Fan Rian shared in her grandmother's indignation. With a disdainful smirk, she remarked, using a chicken feather as an arrow. Indeed, just a lowly scribe. In the days of the previous Lord Prefect, even such a minor functionary would bow respectfully in our presence. This is utterly preposterous. If he wishes to play the game of arrogance, let him revel in it for a lifetime. Those who lack foresight will inevitably meet their downfall. Old Lady Fan's disgust only grew. Who does this Jia think he is? How dare he flaunt his authority before the Fan family? If we fail to reprimand him, he'll remain oblivious to the boundaries of respect. He must learn the consequences of his impertinence. Mother always knows best. Fan Ruyan's eyes gleamed with determination. He'll handle it immediately. See to it discreetly, and ensure our family's hands remain clean. You can count on me, Mom. Chapter 1805. Plot Jia Hemming was not surprised that he was rejected again. Upon his return to the government office, Jia Hemming informed Zheng Sang that if the Fan family persisted in their refusal to cooperate, he would enlist Sang's assistance along with a few others for official matters the following day. He lamented that without their cooperation, resolving the matter seemed as improbable as a cold day in hell. The Fan family's obstinate attitude proved to be a formidable obstacle, hindering progress at every turn. Deputy Prefect Guan remained indifferent, content to engage in fruitless discussions and endless dialogue without taking decisive action. Yet, Jia Hemming remained undeterred, resolved to adhere to Lord Xiao's directives. However, he never anticipated the ambush awaiting him on his journey back from the government office. As he gradually regained consciousness, the moon hung high in the sky, its pale glow casting an eerie light. The stifling humidity of midsummer lingered, suffocating and oppressive in the still night air. Every movement sent waves of agony coursing through his body, from his head to his arms and legs. As he gingerly touched a tender spot at the corner of his mouth, the broken and scabbed skin elicited a sharp pain. Surveying the desolate alley where he lay, a sense of foreboding washed over him. Despite the pain racking his body, he struggled to his feet and staggered back towards the prefect's officio. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, new parents adjusting to the demands of their infant, sought much-needed rest. Even with the assistance of nannies and maids, the newborn's cries demanded Xiao Xian's maternal attention. Ainin proved to be quite proficient in crying and throwing tantrums, demonstrating a remarkable clinginess that saw her bursting into tears the moment she woke, seeking solace only from Xiao Xian. Despite the efforts of the nanny, she adamantly refused to drink milk from anyone but her mother and required feeding 3 times throughout the night. As a result, the nanny and maids primarily assisted with basic tasks such as changing diapers, adjusting bedding, and entertaining Ainin when she was awake. Xiao Xian briefly contemplated allowing Ainin to cry it out and rely on the servants for comfort, but her maternal instincts won out each time, unable to bear her child's distress. Ultimately, Xiao Xian resigned herself to the situation, recognizing that Ainin's preference for her was due to their biological bond. Despite the challenges, she found solace in the assistance of household staff and occasional support from her husband. It wasn't that Xiao Xian hadn't considered letting Ainin cry and allowing the nanny and maids to tend to him. Perhaps he would grow accustomed to it with time, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Ainin would start crying pitifully, and within moments, Xiao Xian's heart would melt with sympathy once more. In the end, she decided to let things be. Her baby was drawn to her because she was his biological mother. Why should she force herself to appear as a distant stepmother? With a servant to assist her, she was spared the burden of household chores. Her husband's occasional help and companionship were enough for her to manage. That was sufficient for Xiao Xian. The first stretch of Ainin's nightly slumber was typically the most peaceful and longest, offering Xiao Xian a precious window for rest after her demanding days. However, even in her exhausted state, Xiao Xian often found herself roused from sleep, unable to fully indulge in intimacy with her husband as fatigue overtook her. Now, just as she had managed to drift off, Lixia's hesitant voice pierced the silence of the tent. Aero Constable Sanbai mentioned that Scribe Jia is here. He's badly injured, Lord. Yue Euro Xiao Yunduan's demeanor shifted immediately. He'll go see him. Upon hearing this, Xiao Xian's mind snapped back to awareness. Could the Fan family be behind Jia's attack? She inquired, her concern evident. Chapter 1806. Bold Xiao Yunduan's expression twisted into a sneer. No doubt it's her doing. Rest, my wife. He'll return once I've dealt with Theseuro. Xiao Xian nodded, her concern evident. Please go quickly. Jia Heming must be badly hurt. Don't disappoint him. Xiao Yunwan wasted no time and headed towards Jia Heming's location. The urgency of Sun Bei's report hinted at the severity of Jia's injuries. Upon arrival, Xiao Yunwan was met with the sounds of Jia Heming's screams of pain emanating from the treatment room. He halted the well-wishers and approached Jia Heming directly. How serious is it? Are you in good hands? The doctor greeted him respectfully before offering his assessment. Lord, the injuries are mostly external, but there are more severe wounds on his left leg, arm, and lower back, including internal injuries. I've prepared medication to be taken thrice daily. If his condition stabilizes after 3 days, we can expect improvement. However, we must monitor for signs of concussion. He must rest and avoid strenuous activity. We'll reassess his condition in 3 days. Some of the external injuries will heal with proper treatment. The doctor's sympathetic sigh hinted at the severity of Jia's ordeal. Who could have orchestrated such a vicious attack against Scribe Jia? Jia Heming grimaced through the pain, his voice strained with bitterness. It's my own incompetence that led to this. I never anticipated such a betrayal. Xiao Yunduan's features hardened. Nor did I. Even he was taken aback by the audacity of the Fan clan's actions. Jia Heming, a scribe from a state government office, had approached the Fan family for official business. Not only did they refuse to cooperate, but they also had the audacity to confront him after he issued an ultimatum. Despite lacking intermediate officials or cultivated talents in the imperial court, the Fan family dared to provoke the officials to such an extent. A true local troublemaker. Given their lawlessness, Xiao Yunduan couldn't fault Jia for his predicament. With the doctor gone, Xiao Yunduan spoke in a hushed tone, urging Jia to recount the events slowly to avoid aggravating his wounds. Grateful for the Lord's attention, Jia Heming began by detailing the Fan family's refusal to cooperate with official matters. Their behavior had escalated, culminating in a confrontation when he issued the ultimatum. Initially, he was met with silence from the Fan family, but when he persisted, their servants aggressively chased him away. His fate didn't surprise him. However, upon returning home that evening, he fell victim to a plotero. Xiao Yunduan turned to Sun Bai, his gaze unwavering. Find out who's responsible and bring them to me. Then, launch an investigation into the Fan family. I want certainty. Though the Fan family likely orchestrated the attack, confirmation was necessary. Gathering evidence would be challenging, as it wouldn't be straightforward, and the Fan family would likely deny involvement, claiming they were framed. Taxation remained paramount, and Xiao Yunduan had no intention of being entangled in trivial matters. It wasn't worth it. As long as he confirmed that it was the Fan family who did it, he would teach them a lesson. One day tomorrow. Is that enough? Sun Bai nodded. Lord, it won't take a day. All right, go. Yes, Lord. Chapter 1807. Investigate. Xiao Yunduan turned his gaze to Jia Heming. You can recuperate here in the office. Tomorrow, I'll arrange for Madame to bring your wife to take care of you. Don't worry about the medicine. His financial means could cover the medical expenses. Jia Heming's heart warmed, and he nodded in acknowledgement, enduring the pain as he cupped his hands and offered a slight bow. Thank you, Lord Airo. Rest well. Xiao Yunduan replied with a nod, casting a final glance at him before turning and exiting. He instructed an officer to attend to Jia's needs. Meanwhile, Sun Bai wasted no time in mobilizing a team to investigate the assailant who attacked Jia Heming. The Fan family wouldn't directly leave evidence behind in such matters. They would likely conceal their identities and bribe local thugs to carry out their dirty work. These thugs were known for their readiness to commit any misdeed for the right price, particularly relishing opportunities to prey on the vulnerable. Such individuals were like parasites within the city, recognized by nearly everyone in their circles. As the constable of An's prefecture, Sun Bai was intimately familiar with the dark underbelly of the region. These nefarious characters couldn't be eradicated entirely. As long as they operated within certain boundaries and didn't draw too much attention, they would evade scrutiny. However, when incidents occurred, it was relatively easy to uncover the truth within their network. Despite being newcomers, these thugs had established their own territories, each with its own leader. Within their respective zones, only locals could undertake tasks, and outsiders couldn't encroach upon their territory without consequences. However, if someone from another area undertook a job and passed it along, they would receive a portion of the proceeds. Anne's province, with its relatively small population and straightforward demographics, was rife with banditry, particularly due to the presence of several bandit nests nearby. These groups placed great emphasis on territorial boundaries, instilling fear in anyone who dared to infringe upon their domain. Sunbai was well aware of these dynamics. While a powerful clan like the Fan family might not grasp the intricacies of the underworld, he did. All he needed to do was locate the gang leader in the area and inquire about who had accepted the job that night. Fear of reprisal from the authorities kept most people compliant, but outright resistance was another matter entirely. There was no need for Sunbai to undertake this task personally. Accompanied by 2 skilled and trusted aides, he stealthily infiltrated the Fan family's mansion under the cover of night. The Fan family employed 2 martial artists to guard their estate, along with training their young and robust servants in basic combat techniques. Such precautions were common among the affluent families of Anne's province, where wealth often meant being a target for various threats. In the martial arts world, home guards required considerable upkeep. They demanded quality food, clothing, lodging, transportation, and even a servant, with the going rate this year hovering around 500 taels. The better the guard, the higher the price commanded. Take, for instance, the May family's renowned guards, each fetching a yearly salary of 1,000 taels of silver for their services. However, the Fan clan operated differently. They needed robust manpower for woodcutting and transportation in the mountains, preparing for potential emergencies. Consequently, they couldn't afford such lavish expenditures. Their guards were paid a modest sum of 400 taels annually, reflecting their limited martial prowess. With such lax security, sneaking in for Sunbai would be as effortless as flipping his hand. It seemed unlikely that the 2 old masters of the Fan family would orchestrate such a clumsy scheme. More likely culprits were either old Lady Fan herself or the great-aunt who had inherited her cunning. Interrogating their trusted aides wouldn't prove too troublesome. Chapter 1808. Capture Xiao Yunduan's inevitable clash with the 3 big families loomed closer with each passing day. Since his arrival, Sunbai and his team had meticulously gathered intelligence on the inner workings of these influential households, familiarizing themselves with the layouts of their mansions. Without hesitation, Sunbai made his move, targeting Fan Rian and her husband's courtyard. Fortune smiled upon him as he apprehended Granny Heng, Fan Rian's confidant, in the dead of night. Awakening to a sharp blade at her neck, the old woman trembled in terror, spilling every detail at Sunbai's prompting. She absolved herself of blame, insisting she was merely a messenger, with Madame Yuezheng and Fan Rian orchestrating the scheme through the housekeeper. Unmoved by her pleas, Sunbai swiftly rendered her unconscious and departed under the cloak of darkness. Simultaneously, the government office executed another successful arrest. Locating the local gang leader, they briefed him on the situation. With a knowing smile, the gang leader promptly dispatched his subordinates to investigate. In less than 2 hours, they had their suspects. 4 individuals, quivering with fear, were brought in for questioning. These street-smart individuals swiftly realized the gravity of their situation. Having accepted a job mere hours earlier, each pocketing 8 taels of silver, they now found themselves in custody. It was clear that their sudden apprehension was no coincidence. In the shadows of the night, the intricate web of deception and intrigue continued to unravel. Regret gnawed at the 4 of them. They knew they shouldn't have accepted the job. Stealing small items from market stalls was one thing, but crossing paths with officials was an entirely different matter. Even though Jia Hemming was just a lowly scribe, harming him was akin to insulting the entire government office. Their ill-fated decision had caught up with them. Trembling with fear, they dared not deceive their boss. Confessing immediately, they knelt on the ground, pleading for clemency. But mercy was not forthcoming. They were swiftly escorted back to the government office and thrown into jail. The following morning, Xiao Yunduan oversaw a public interrogation. The four were swiftly convicted, sentenced to 30 strokes of the cane, a fine of 20 taels of silver, and 6 months' imprisonment. Meanwhile, news of the proceedings reached Jia Hemming's wife, Ms. Fong, who had come to the office to check on him. Witnessing the swift justice being meted out, she felt a sense of vindication. Wiping away her tears, she hurried back to her husband's side. Grateful for the support, she reflected on the kindness shown by Lord and Lady Xiao. They had offered comfort and assurance, promising justice for her husband and ensuring he wouldn't suffer in vain. Madame Xiao stayed true to her promise. The spectators erupted into murmurs. Those with hidden agendas had to tread even more cautiously. Lord Xiao was clearly standing firmly behind the government officialsero among the prominent families. It was widely believed that the Fan family was behind this incident. However, no one expected the government to respond so swiftly. What transpired last night was resolved by morning. Clearly, the culprit had been apprehended overnight. Lord Xiao showed no leniency whatsoever. Many speculated about the sanity of the Fan family. What would have prompted old Lady Fan to act so recklessly? It seemed she was the only one capable of such brazen behavior. Chapter 1809. Going to the Fan family, if old Lady Fan had refrained from touching Scribe Jia, perhaps there would have been a chance to negotiate with Lord Xiao. They could have facilitated a few years of transition. But now, who could predict if Lord Xiao would still be around after that time? Yet, she couldn't risk causing trouble for Lord Xiao herself. Instead, she resorted to paying hooligans to rough up Scribe Jia. Now, her options for retreat were blocked. Despite Lord Xiao's potential retaliation, no one dared to speak against him. News of the interrogation results swiftly reached the Fan family. Old Lady Fan sneered. He got off lightly. She harbored no regrets, nor did she feel any fear. Just a twinge of irritation at Xiao Yunduan's unexpected swiftness. Nanny Hang was privy to the events as well. Recalling the previous night sent shivers down her spine, her legs almost giving way from fear. She wouldn't dare breathe a word about what happened, not even to her master. Pretending it never occurred seemed the safest course. Yet, she dreaded the thought of that person returning or implicating her hero Nanny Hang, usually resolute in aiding Fan Ruyan, now felt a disquieting unease. Her instincts warned her of impending trouble. Upon the verdict's announcement, Zhang Sang and his men barricaded the Fan family's exits, preventing anyone from leaving. The entire Fan clan was thrown into shock, and the news spread like wildfire throughout An's province, drawing a crowd outside the Fan family's gates, swelling with each passing moment. It resembled a bustling fair, if not even livelier. When old Lady Fan received the news, she was in the midst of sipping Cubelos soup with Fan Ruyan and Bai Rurue. Old Lady Fan nearly flung the Cubelos bowl from her grasp. Absurd. What kind of twisted logic is this? Her voice crackled with anger as she rose to her feet. We'll see who dares to stop me from leaving. Mom. Fan Ruyan was taken aback, but quickly intervened. Please calm yourself. You are the matriarch of our family, our guiding light. There's no need for you to personally handle such trivial matters. I assure you, there's no evidence left from last night's incident. If anyone dares to confront us, they'll have to apologize. Old Lady Fan softened at her daughter's words. If you say so, then fine. Fan Ruyan smiled reassuringly. I'm certain. The silver he handed over appeared as ordinary banknotes. The messenger sent to deal with the hooligans was a trusted servant from the village, his face obscured. As for witnesses, they were easily swayed or coerced by the government into falsehoods and framing others. Lord Xiao's influence was indeed formidable. And where were elder brother and second brother when all this happened? And sister-in-law and second sister of Euro Fan Rin seized any opportunity to tease her siblings, a habit she couldn't seem to break. Old Lady Fan's expression darkened at the mention, a disdainful snort escaping her lips. First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan rushed in, their wives trailing anxiously behind. "Mother, what's happening?" "Yes, what is Lord Xiao playing at?" Despite her initial displeasure at Fan Rian's jab, Old Lady Fan's frustration dwindled slightly. Chapter 18:10. Locking the door. Why would I know? Are you here to interrogate me? Eldest Old Master, Second Old Master, and their wives stood in stunned silence, exchanging bewildered glances. They couldn't fathom why their mother was once again directing her anger towards them. First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan, positioned nearby, with lowered heads, inwardly sneered. Was there even need to ask? Couldn't they see who was standing right here? Had she ever refrained from meddling? "No, Mother, please don't misunderstand. We came specifically to discuss how to handle this situation," Eldest Old Master stammered. "Yes," Second Old Master chimed in. Old Lady Fan's sneer deepened. "They're already at her doorstep. What do you propose? They want to accuse the Fan family without evidence. Do they think we're pushovers? Chase them away quickly." Initially, the two Old Masters harbored some hope, but now they were convinced their mother must have orchestrated the assault on Jia Hemming the previous night, and their biological sister was likely involved too. They felt utterly powerless. This wasn't the time for reckless confrontation with Lord Xiao. They needed to strategize, consider all options and escape routes before making a move. How could they act so impulsively? Jia Hemming was a clerk from the state government office, a member of the government. Everyone in An's province knew he was Lord Xiao's right-hand man. Striking him would be a direct affront to Lord Xiao. Was Lord Xiao someone to trifle with? The individuals assaulted the previous night, and the hired hooligans were apprehended. Today, the hooligans faced severe punishment, and now someone had come to the Fan Familiaro. The two brothers sighed inwardly, knowing better than to criticize their mother. They often joked that their biological sister could provoke their mother with just 10 words. "Mother, fret not. We'll handle the negotiations. Without evidence, it's not easy to tarnish our family's name," Eldest Old Master assured. Then get on with it." Old Lady Fan snapped. The brothers felt a slight relief. If their mother spoke so confidently, the other party likely lacked evidence. They trusted her judgment. Though she could be domineering, she wouldn't leave herself vulnerable to accusations. As long as there was no evidence, they should be fine. Accompanied by the butler, guards, and servants, the brothers swung the door open with a resounding bang, fixing stern gazes on Zheng Sang and his cohorts. The air grew taut, charged with tension. "Constable Zheng, what's the meaning of this?" Eldest Old Master's voice cut through the silence, his demeanor icy. Zheng Sang met his gaze squarely. He scoffed, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Are you truly unaware, or are you feigning ignorance? Don't play dumb," Second Old Master retorted sharply. Constable Zheng refrained from baseless accusations. Evidence is required for any claims. Indeed, Lord Xiao is known for his integrity and clear judgment. It's inconceivable he would resort to tyranny, Eldest Old Master added. Zheng Sang chuckled. "Our Lord embodies fairness and clarity, which sometimes invites the misconception that he's easily manipulated. It's best you come clean now. Refusal may not bode well." "Preposterous," Second Old Master snapped. "We won't confess to a crime we didn't commit. Just because Scribe Jia was assaulted doesn't implicate our family. Without evidence, you have no grounds to target us." Chapter 18:11. To reveal what one was intended to hide, First Old Master Fan sneered, his gaze challenging. Zheng Sang met his stare head-on. "Do you share his sentiment?" "Absolutely," First Old Master Fan replied, his tone deliberate. "We believe in reason and legality." Zheng Sang smirked. "So, you also believe Scribe Jia's situation has no bearing on your family?" "It's irrelevant." Zheng Sang's smirk deepened. "Interesting. So, the assault on Scribe Jia, leaving him severely injured, is entirely disconnected from the Fan family. But when did I mention Scribe Jia?" Realization dawned on the faces of those present. Indeed, Constable Zheng had never once mentioned Scribe Jia. The Fan family's old masters had brought him up unprompted. It was a clear indication of guilt, a slip-up revealing what they sought to conceal. The two old masters stood dumbfounded, realizing they'd been outmaneuvered. Though not admissible in court, the implication was glaring to all present, a humiliating blow. Scribe Jia's assault last night and Constable Zheng's visit this morning naturally raised suspicions. Why else would you be here? First old master attempted to rationalize. Zheng Sang scoffed. You truly don't know why I'm here? Yet, you immediately jumped to the conclusion of Scribe Jia's involvement. Perhaps you're overly perceptive or conveniently forgetful. Make yourself clear. Second old master Fan had learned his lesson and was no longer led by the nose by him. Zheng Sang brandished the document Jia Hemming had delivered to the Fan family the previous day, his tone icy. Scribe Jia has visited your premises thrice. You should be well aware of his purpose. Today marks the deadline for your cooperation with the government's investigation into your fields. Refusal will result in consequences. So, will you accompany me now to aid in the thorough investigation, or shall I proceed to seal the residence? Lord Xiao insists on resolution today. Non-compliance will lead to immediate sealing of your residence, followed by your shops tomorrow. Subsequently, stewards from all Fan family farms will be summoned to the government office until you comply. Mind you, Lord Xiao cares for his subjects like his own kin. Your family may dispatch one individual, accompanied by 2 servants, for daily purchases. However, all carriages must undergo inspection, with only the coachman permitted to accompany them. Do you two have anything else to say? The hearts of the 2 old masters of the Fan family turned cold. Fei had really forgotten about this. This was because they had never thought that the government would have the guts to do this to the Fan family. They were acutely aware of the numerous fertile fields the Fan clan had kept hidden and unregistered. If they were to rectify this now, it would mean relinquishing further sums of money annually, and the inevitable upheaval at their mother's residence loomed large. They might even have to dip into their personal funds to smooth things over. The mere thought of it caused a pang of anxiety. Among the onlookers, murmurs spread like wildfire. So that's the situation. Lord Xiao means business. It's about time. Why do these wealthy families avoid taxes? Exactly. With all their wealth, they still resort to such underhanded tactics. Shameless greed, I say. Chapter 1812. Mixing. Ha! The richer you are, the stingier you are. Who would think that they have too much money? That's what Lord Xiao should do. These 2 old masters are interesting. They actually forgot such a big matter and actually confessed. Hee. Hang on. Zheng Sang's gaze gleamed with confidence. His entourage comprised individuals of utmost utility, some his own trusted allies, others former bailiffs, now honed into formidable agents. Their presence alone exerted a palpable pressure on the Fan family. And even if, by some miracle, the Fan family could muster the strength to oppose them, who would dare attack officials in broad daylight, especially after witnessing the fate of those hooligans? Risking a beating and imprisonment was simply unthinkable. The 2 old masters of the Fan family grasped the grim reality. Unless they conceded defeat, there was no end in sight to this standoff. Perhaps they could have negotiated, but after the events of the previous night, such a prospect seemed futile. Lord Xiao wouldn't entertain further discussions. Moreover, criticism of Lord Xiao was off limits. After all, the Fan clan had initiated hostilities. Even lacking concrete evidence, their guilt was clear to all. But capitulating under such circumstances would be a bitter pill to swallow. Just then, Deputy Prefect Guan hurried over with 2 attendants. His heart skipped a beat at the sight before him. After exchanging pleasantries, he addressed the pressing issue at hand. This situation can't be allowed to linger. We must find a resolution. How about this? First old master Fan, second old master Fan. Let's convene inside and discuss matters further. Seeing a potential resolution, the 2 old masters of the Fan family breathed a sigh of relief, nodding in agreement as they courteously ushered Deputy Prefect Guan into the Fan residence. Having Deputy Prefect Guan present was ideal. He could facilitate discussions with their mother. Zheng Sang raised no objections, personally positioning his men to guard the residence's entrance, ensuring no one could leave while allowing entry. He mused that Lord Xiao's judgment had been correct. Deputy Prefect Guan should have remained in the crowd, intervening only as a last resort. Since Lord Xiao had assigned this task to him, it was fitting for him to take charge now. He anticipated the outcome of negotiations between Deputy Prefect Guan and the Fan family. Old Lady Fan was notorious for her stubbornness. As expected, Old Lady Fan erupted in fury, hurling curses in Deputy Prefect Guan's direction. Though not explicitly directed at him, he still felt uneasy. After all, he held a middling official position. Yet, Deputy Prefect Guan lacked the confidence and authority to confront the Fan family, as Xiao Yinduan would. He had no choice but to endure Old Lady Fan's tirade, avoiding any direct association with the scolding. It was during this confrontation that Deputy Prefect Guan learned of the Fan family's extensive land holding over 260,000 mu, with only 150,000 mu officially registered with the government. Over 50,000 mu remained concealed. Considering the scarcity of paddy fields in An's province, this was a substantial sum, akin to the fertile lands of Jiangnan. Deputy Prefect Guan was stunned. Old Lady Fan adamantly refused to pay taxes on these unregistered lands, citing the family's historical contributions to the government. She implored Lord Xiao to show mercy, warning that further pressure from him would only lead to mutual destruction. Chapter 1813. Bold, the two old masters of the Fan family skillfully persuaded their mother, while subtly hinting to Deputy Prefect Guan about the benefits they sought. Simultaneously, they exerted both coaxing and force to sway his decision. Deputy Prefect Guan found himself irresistibly drawn to the promised benefits from the Fan family, amounting to 200 taels of silver annually. Considering his salary fell short of this amount of euro to him, this represented a significant sum, especially in his current financial predicament, compounded by his failed instigation of the bailiffs. Resulting in substantial financial losses. He was in dire need of funds. Moreover, the Fan family's proposition held weight. As deputy prefect, his actions could easily go unnoticed by Xiao Yinduan. And even if they were discovered, Xiao Yinduan lacked the power to penalize him. Gritting his teeth, Deputy Prefect Guan reluctantly acquiesced. That day, negotiations between Deputy Prefect Guan and the Fan family concluded in a unanimous agreement. The family dispatched a butler, while Guan arranged for an investigation of the fertile lands. It was eventually discovered that the Fan family had neglected to register 10,000 mu of fertile fields with the government. Deputy Prefect Guan promptly reported the findings to Xiao Yunduan and rectified the oversight. Upon review, Xiao Yunduan nodded approvingly and instructed Deputy Prefect Guan to continue his duties. With the Fan clan serving as an example, subsequent tasks became more manageable. The Fan clan's resolute stance had nearly caused them embarrassment. None could match their determination. Though the Mei family and the Hua family might have posed comparably, their lack of interest and contention was apparent from the outset. Deputy Prefect Guan basked in his self-satisfaction, boasting profusely in the provincial office and metaphorically treading upon Jia Hemming. What use was Jia Hemming? He sneered. Incompetence, he concluded, was synonymous with trouble. Not only did they fail to resolve matters, but they also stirred up chaos, causing suffering not only for themselves, but also for those around Thema. Meanwhile, Jia Hemming, still recovering, seethed with anger. Yet Deputy Prefect Guan's satisfaction only swelled further. The Fan family, though outwardly accepting of the outcome, harbored deep dissatisfaction. Formerly paying nominal taxes, they now faced a staggering sum, forced to declare 160,000 mu, a substantial burden. This was a financial blow. Were it not for Lord Xiao's unwavering stance, they would not have capitulated so readily. Now, having concealed tens of thousands of mu, they salvaged what little dignity remained. The Fan clan, however, perceived no wrongdoing. Xiao had taken a sizable chunk from them, Could they not resist? Even if he were aware, turning a blind, I was expected a euro, this realization didn't escape others' notice. Observing the Fan clan's ability to conceal such vast holdings, many were tempted to follow suit. After all, who would complain of excess wealth? Hoarding seemed the prudent choice, a long-term strategiro buoyed by this scheme. Deputy Prefect Guan grew bolder. Why should he pass up such a lucrative opportunity? He congratulated himself on a job well done. The resolution coincided with the approaching August 15th festival, with the autumn harvest following shortly after. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan found themselves amidst a bustling gathering, far from the solitude of previous years. Ainan's appearance seemed to evolve daily. His once small eyebrows now flourished, framing his fair and tender visage. Adorable hardly captured his essence, particularly his captivating eyes, reminiscent of lustrous black grapes, shimmering with an enchanting watery allure capable of softening any heart. Though not yet a month old, he couldn't yet partake in moon-gazing, but he delighted in meeting the various guests. Among them were Zheng Sang, Ms. Song, Ms. Miao, and Xiao Qiao, all converging upon the state office for the festivities. With the addition of Mian Mian, Yi, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Song Shi, Li Xia, Li Qiu, and Kai Yun, the atmosphere surpassed even that of the New Year celebrations. Chapter 1814. Mid-autumn Yuezhing, Xiao dispatched a messenger to deliver an array of gifts. Fresh and rare fruits, delectable mooncakes, and assorted sweets adorned every corner, appearing effortlessly placed yet exuding an air of casual elegance. The children, delighted by the treats, bubbled with joy. Acknowledging the diligence of everyone in the office, Xiao Yunduan distributed 2 taels of silver as holiday bonuses along with 2 boxes of premium mooncakes from the esteemed Guanshan Garden in the city, a gesture extended even to the bailiffs. This gesture sparked a wave of jubilation and gratitude among the staff. Praises such as Lord Xiao's wisdom knows no bounds, and his kindness knows no limit, echoed, accompanied by expressions of unwavering loyalty. The outpouring of appreciation was boundless, a testament to the unprecedented treatment bestowed upon them. The mooncakes, crafted by the city's finest, Guanshan Garden, were not mere trifles. Each box contained 6 sumptuous pieces, priced at a considerable 100 copper coins per box. Furthermore, the inclusion of 2 taels of silver was significant. Even the most ordinary bailiffs and servants possessed such wealth. Considering their modest monthly earnings euro, 2 taels for the bailiffs and 1 tael for the servants euro, the bonus was indeed substantial. That evening, the east courtyard of the state government office transformed into a scene of festivity, with 5 large round tables accommodating all. The culinary feast, masterfully orchestrated by Ms. Song, Li Xia, and others under Xiao Xian's guidance, featured an impressive spread. From steamed mandarin fish to dompa meat, potato chicken to braised ribs, and a plethora of other delectable dishes, the menu was a testament to their culinary prowess. Xiao Xian even saw fit to procure some fine wine for the occasion. Amidst the convivial atmosphere, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, once considered as intermediate figures, forged a bond as they engaged in lively conversation and shared laughter. As the moon hung high overhead, a mutual understanding prevailed among the attendees. Aware that Madame was still in confinement, they bid their farewells respectfully before relocating to continue their merriment. Ainan had been thoroughly entertained throughout the day, leaving him pleasantly fatigued and ready for a restful night's sleep. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian sat together by the window, gazing up at the radiant full moon above. Though Xiao Xian's appearance remained unchanged, her pale countenance gradually flushed with color. Her eyes sparkled with vitality, yet despite her energy, Xiao Yunduan remained steadfast in keeping her confined indoors during her recovery period. Though Xiao Xian knew she had fully recuperated and had no need for a month-long confinement, tradition held sway, with everyone from Xiao Yunduan to Ms. Song, Li Xia, and Li Qiu insisting on adherence to custom. Thus, Xiao Xian found herself resigned to her room. As the night progressed into the midpoint of autumn, with more than half of her confinement period behind her, Xiao Yunduan considered himself fortunate to share this tranquil moment with his wife, peering at the moon's luminous glow through the window. The moonlight cast a gentle glow, illuminating the courtyard below. Flowers, branches, and leaves danced in its ethereal radiance, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow upon the ground. The scene evoked a sense of whimsical beauty, reminiscent of coral formations, adding an enchanting aura to the surroundings. The air itself seemed to shimmer with clarity, akin to sunlight filtering through crystal-clear waters. This mid-autumn celebration is particularly lively, isn't it? It's been a while since we've experienced such vibrancy during the intermediate autumn. I imagine the excitement will only escalate come the new year, remarked Xiao Xian, nestled contentedly in Xiao Yunduan's embrace. Indeed, agreed Xiao Yunduan, his gaze tenderly fixed upon his cherished wife. And as time goes on, the festivities will only grow grander. Next year, as Anan continues to grow, perhaps we can invite our parents to join the celebrations. Chapter 1815. Haven't tried it yet. Xiao Xian couldn't help but chuckle at the thought. Anan would only be a year old next year. Hardly the time for him to cause a stir. After all, he hadn't even reached toddlerhood yet. But imagining the little one's future antics filled Xiao Xian with excitement once more. Her eyes gleamed with anticipation, her smile growing even more radiant and warm. Xiao Yunduan, his gaze deep with affection, gently caressed her waist with one hand. Leaning in, he planted a tender kiss on her cheek, his voice a soft murmur against her ear. "You seem to have filled out a bit." Xiao Xian's senses sharpened instantly. Tilting her chin up, she widened her eyes in mock offense. "Are you saying I'm getting fat?" Postpartum, every woman harbored concerns about regaining their pre-pregnancy figure. Such sensitivities couldn't be brushed off casually, especially by her husband. In truth, Xiao Xian had shed much of her pregnancy weight. Her affinity with the wood element boded well for her physical recovery, assuring her of returning to peak condition in due time. Upon realizing this, she relaxed. After all, who wouldn't be conscious of their appearance? Her concerns were for herself alone. Of course not. Xiao Yunduan reassured her, enfolding her in his embrace with a soft chuckle. "You're perfect just the way you are. You were beautiful before, and you're beautiful now." Xiao Xian couldn't contain her laughter. Gazing up at him, she teased, "So, which is euro, better before or now?" Xiao Yunduan's smile deepened, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes as he replied suggestively, "I know what was good before, but I've yet to experience the pleasures of now." A rosy blush spread across Xiao Xian's cheeks, her eyes alight with playful embarrassment. She attempted to maintain her composure as she inquired, "Experience what?" Regret immediately washed over her. Why did she ask? She wished she could retract the question the moment it left her lips. True to form, Xiao Yunduan's chuckle grew more intimate as he drew her closer, whispering something in her ear that caused her blush to deepen. Finally, he kissed her with such fervor that she melted into his embrace, the boundaries of her confinement momentarily forgotten. Following the mid-autumn festivities, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan turned their attention to planning their son's one-month-old banquet. Having received congratulations from most well-wishers already, they focused on finalizing the guest list and menu. Xiao Xian expressed a desire to highlight potatoes, intending to promote their culinary versatility. After deliberation, they settled on two potato-centric dishes: stir-fried shredded potatoes with a tangy, slightly spicy flavor, and fried potato pancakes. These would be served alongside steamed buns and fried dumplings, providing a hearty main course. Xiao Yunduan readily agreed, praising the potential of potatoes. "Indeed, it's an excellent choice. I've observed the potato crops, both here and in the capital, and they're thriving. With high yields and adaptability to various climates, promoting them could be a boon, especially for regions facing agricultural challenges. Even in times of plenty, they offer sustenance to impoverished families with limited land." Grinning fondly at his wife, he continued, "Any merit accrued in Anne's province will undoubtedly be attributed to you, my dear. Marrying you has been the greatest blessing of my life." Chapter 1816. Gain Xiao Xian's heart swelled with warmth, though she refrained from voicing it aloud. "Oh, you're quite the charmer," she teased. Xiao Yunduan chuckled, planting a tender kiss on her lips. His wife's playful pretense only endeared her to him further, igniting an urge to draw her closer. With the decision made to feature potatoes at the banquet, Xiao Xian promptly issued orders for their harvest. Months of development, cultivation, and planting had transformed the landscape. The once rough terrain now boasted a meticulously maintained road, wide enough for 2 carriages to pass comfortably. Its surface, compacted and reinforced with a layer of crushed stones, remained resilient against rain-induced erosion. Across the sprawling expanse, medicinal herbs and potatoes thrived. Though some herbs required years to mature, their lush growth signaled Xiao Yunduan's enduring commitment to Anne's province, hinting at multiple terms of governance. Anticipating the next planting season, Xiao Xian outlined plans to introduce additional crops like Gastrodia elata, Baikal skullcap, and false starworts in the forested slopes. As the harvest season approached for the 2,000 mu of potatoes, news of the novel crops spread swiftly, fueled by the efforts of Songshi, Lu Fu, Mian Mian, and others. Despite the populace's anticipation, many had yet to taste the tubers, prompting a surge of curiosity and speculation. Upon the conclusion of Ainan's 1-month-old banquet, Xiao Xian intended to gradually introduce the potatoes to the market, offering them in limited quantities for culinary use, sustenance, and seed propagation. Additionally, she planned to provide free guidance on planting and cultivation techniques, ensuring widespread adoption and prosperity. As for 2,000 mu, after being activated by her superpower, the yield was at least 4,000 caddies. It was enough to supply them all together. After all, not everyone was so accepting. Not everyone would buy it. It was still early for 50,000 mu in the forest. This winter, they would hire more people during the farming time. It would be best if they could all cultivate the land and plant pepper, star anise, and pepper next year. The 1,000 mu of Sichuan peppers this year were also growing very well. The seeds planted were originally 2 years old, and they could hang fruits next year. Xiao Yunwan and Xiao Xian's actions were very eye-catching. They dug potatoes with great fanfare and hired so many people, which attracted a lot of attention. Amidst the potato harvesting operation, crowds gathered, some to witness the spectacle, others with less noble intentions, seeking to poach from the bountiful fields. Witnessing the remarkably high production rate, many onlookers were astounded, prompting a barrage of skeptical inquiries. Would the potatoes taste palatable? Could they truly satisfy hunger? Were they versatile enough to serve as both a staple and a vegetable? Seizing the opportunity, Songshi and his cohorts reiterated the merits of the crop, assuaging doubts and reaffirming its potential. They announced plans to commence sales after the young master's 1-month-old banquet, inviting all interested parties to purchase. However, the Fan family and Mrs. Guan sneer at these efforts, dismissing them as mere profit-seeking schemes. Ignorant of the crop's characteristics and benefits, they failed to recognize its value beyond monetary gain. Chapter 1817. 1-month-old banquet. Some individuals found themselves genuinely intrigued by Madame Xiao's confident assertions, reasoning that she wouldn't risk implicating Lord Xiao unless she spoke the truth. With plans to purchase the potatoes when they became available, they saw little harm in giving them a try or even cultivating some themselves. On the day of Ainan's 1-month-old banquet, the state government office buzzed with activity. Dozens of tables adorned the backyard, where male guests congregated, while female guests occupied seats in the east courtyard. Xiao Xian summoned a cadre of trusted individualciero, Ms. Song, Ms. Miao, Qiao Qiao, Songshi, Qingyan, Mian Mian, Li Xia, Li Qiu, Kai Wei, and King Yuro to assist with the day's preparations. Each was assigned specific tasks, ensuring seamless coordination throughout the festivities. While the garden affairs could be managed with the help of Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and other bailiffs, The east courtyard demanded unwavering attention to prevent any mishaps during the celebration. It was imperative to maintain the utmost decorum, especially when attending to the guests. As the guests arrived for the 1-month-old celebration, all eyes naturally turned to the baby. Nanny Kai Ming and her assistants, Kai Yun and Kai Wei, remained on high alert, steadfast in their duty to safeguard Ainan's well-being. Throughout the day, Li Xia and her counterparts remained vigilant, discreetly attending to the needs of both guests and maidservants. However, notable absentees included the Fan clan, who harbored a desire to attend, but ultimately refrained. Old Lady Fan's previous misjudgment, influenced by Fan Rian slander, had strained relations. Until formally invited by Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, they remained on the sidelines, unsure of their welcome. Despite being one of the 3 prominent families in An's province, the Fan clan anticipated deference from the prefect lord, given their stature. Moreover, their recent cooperation in the investigation of land holdings had already demonstrated their willingness to cooperate, providing the prefect lord with sufficient face. However, to their surprise, no representatives from the Xiao family arrived. As time ticked on, it became increasingly apparent that no invitation would be forthcoming. Old Lady Fan's initial disappointment swiftly turned to indignation. "This is outrageous. Outrageous. I won't forget this." Fueling her fire, Fan Rian speculated. "I suppose it's because we showed leniency this time, making the prefect lord think we're easy prey. They're taking advantage of our generosity. But mark my words, when the prefect lord departs In's province, their true colors will show a Euro frustrated." Old Lady Fan found herself yearning for the mountain bandits of yesteryear, once feared but now wished for to humble Lord Xiao. The Fan family's elders hesitated to approach Old Lady Fan, foreseeing the inevitable ridicule that would follow their absence. While other families eagerly attended the state office banquet, the absence of the Fan clan was met with little surprise or disappointment. Reflecting on the situation, the first old master and madam lamented, "Mother's temperament remains unchanged, but the current prefect lord is not like his predecessors. How times have changed." The first Madame Fan remained silent, well aware of past tensions between their families, particularly involving the prefect's daughter, who had suffered indignities at the hands of bearer. Chapter 1818. Potatoes. Such incidents were not isolated occurrences for the Fan clan. Accustomed to their privileged status, Old Lady Fan and her daughter had long held themselves above others. Historically, the prefect lords lacked the confidence and authority to challenge the entrenched power of long-standing families like theirs, relying on their support for various matters. However, the current prefect lord was a different breed. Unfazed by the Fan clan's haughty demeanor, he represented a new era Euro, one where their arrogance was met with resistance. Inwardly, First Madame Fan couldn't help but feel that her mother's arrogance had invited their current misfortune. Perhaps it's fitting, she mused to herself, for her to face consequences for her perpetual arrogance. Although she agreed with her husband's assessment, First Madame Fan maintained a facade of gentility. "Mother is of noble birth," she offered diplomatically. "I believe Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao have shown undue disrespect. Regardless, our mother is an elder and deserves reverence." Observing his wife's tactful response, the first old master smiled knowingly, choosing not to press the matter further. He understood the delicate balance required in navigating their family dynamics, especially concerning Old Lady Fan's sensibilities. "Perhaps I should speak with Mother and attempt to reason with her," he suggested tentatively, acknowledging the need for diplomacy in managing familial conflicts. First Madame Fan couldn't help but sneer inwardly at her husband's suggestion. "If you think you can persuade her, be prepared for a scolding in return." "I'm not sure. Perhaps we should consult with my sister-in-law first," she suggested, masking her contempt with a veneer of diplomacy. The first old master's heart sank at the prospect. Frowning, he sighed inwardly, realizing that he would need to tread carefully. Perhaps it was best to keep certain matters hidden from his mother and sister going forward. He found himself fervently wishing for the prefect lord's transfer, hoping to alleviate the tensions within his family. Meanwhile, in the state office's backyard, guests were treated to a traditional banquet spread. While the dishes were sumptuous, many of the women had previously sampled Xiao Xian's delectable cooking and were eager for something new. Their anticipation peaked when stir-fried shredded potatoes were served, a novel dish prepared from Madame Xiao's potatoes. The golden strands, lightly ed with green peppers, exuded an enticing aroma, piquing everyone's interest. As they sampled the dish, they were delighted by its crispy texture and tangy, spicy flavor, a refreshing departure from the usual fare. The arrival of potato pancakes further impressed the guests, who praised the unique fragrance and flavor. "It's delicious. Who knew potatoes could taste this good? Lord and Madame Xiao have truly brought something special to Anne's province. They're so considerate." The consensus was clear. The introduction of potatoes had elevated the culinary experience and won the admiration of all present. Chapter 1819. It looks very effective, true. Euro 30% of the praises were mere compliments, but a staggering 70% emanated from genuine appreciation. The flavor was commendable, versatile enough for cooking various dishes, even pancakes. The maidservants' casual mentions of different cooking techniques added an air of reliability and allure to the dishes. Many attendees anticipated the opening of Madame Xiao's stall for purchase. They planned to procure some and experiment with additional recipes in their kitchens. Despite their affluence, the attendees pondered the significance of such provisions, acknowledging the potential boon they could provide during times of scarcity or calamity. Xiao Xian regarded the matter with earnestness, her satisfaction evident as Li Xia and others relayed the feedback to her with smiles. Xiao Xian's genuine happiness was palpable. Whether it was due to the dish's deliciousness or her personal preference, authenticity shone through. She understood that insincere praise would not enhance the dish's appeal. Purposefully, Xiao Xian ensured the other dishes remained subdued, allowing the spotlight to remain on the potatoes. Her strategy proved effective. As the banquet concluded, guests departed gradually. Some lingered, indulging in drinks until the moon adorned the night sky before bidding their farewells. Xiao Yunduan remained silent until he dispatched someone to inquire. Xiao Xian had already drifted into sleep, as had Anan, who had spent the day in joyful activity. After ensuring his son was settled, Xiao Yunduan entered the bedroom. The rustle of his clothes roused Xiao Xian from her half-slumber. Her drowsy gaze brightened at the sight of him, accompanied by a gentle smile. Her words came out in a soft murmur. "You're back. Are they gone too?" Xiao Yunduan nodded, a soft chuckle escaping his lips as he settled beside her, enfolding her in his embrace. "Why are you awake? Aren't you tired?" Xiao Xian returned the smile. "Of course I am tired. I've been on edge all day because of your son. I've been so tense, not daring to relax for a second, fearing something might happen. Thankfully, the Fan family wasn't present today. I've silently thanked them countless times." Xiao Yunduan chuckled, planting kisses on her forehead and cheeks. "Seems like the Fan family isn't so bad after all. You're quite sensible, right?" She responded with a soft laugh. Their smiles met in silent understanding. Xiao Yunduan's gaze softened as he spoke gently. "My son has exhausted you today. As his father, I must make it up to you." Xiao Xian's eyes twinkled mischievously. "And how do you plan to do that?" His smile deepened. "Remember this, and when the time is right, we'll repay you with interest." A warmth spread in Xiao Xian's heart, and she playfully scolded him. "Let's just go to sleep." After all, there was nothing more he could do. Why make things difficult for himself? Chapter 1820. Promoting potatoes, Xiao Yunduan chuckled and drew her into his embrace, gently patting her shoulders. "Yes, sleep." Xiao Xian's lips curled into a contented smile. The familiar comfort of his chest provided a sense of security, and soon she drifted back into slumber. Taking advantage of the momentum, the day following Anan's 1-month-old banquet, the potatoes were launched onto the market. With the advantage of their own territory, There was no need for cumbersome procedures or stall arrangements. Under Song's guidance, 4 potato sales points were strategically positioned in bustling areas across the city center. 2 days into the sale, a simple cooking setup was added beside each point. Potatoes were prepared on-site, offering passers-by free samples cooked in various styles. The display showcased the versatility of potatoes in culinary creations. Every 2 hours, fresh batches of complimentary dishes were prepared: potato pancakes, spicy and sour shredded potatoes, stir-fried potato cubes, potato slices, steamed potatoes, and more, including a daily serving of deep-fried potatoes. Sold at a modest price of 4 copper coins per caddy, the potatoes were limited to 10 caddies per purchase, with a maximum of 20 caddies allowed for wealthy families or restaurants. Those desiring more had to join the queue once again. Furthermore, it was made clear that the supply was limited, and once sold out, customers would have to wait until the next year. Xiao Xian had anticipated skepticism from commoners and expected a challenging promotional effort, thus necessitating a gradual acceptance strategy. To her surprise, the process unfolded remarkably smoothly. Generous purchases came from the affluent families who had sampled the potatoes at Ainan's banquet, while well-informed restaurants swiftly followed suit. Observing this trend, other establishments quickly jumped on the bandwagon. The commoners held Lord Xiao in high esteem for his integrity, and the Xiao family's products, being reasonably priced, found favor among them. As queues lengthened, others instinctively joined in without hesitation, recognizing the popularity and value of the product. From 2,000 mu of land, approximately 4,500 caddies of potatoes were harvested, totaling around 9 million caddies. Xiao Xian retained seeds for future cultivation on the same land and set aside a portion as gifts, mainly in gratitude for contributions from Zheng Sang and others. The remaining half was divided between An's prefecture city and 17 surrounding towns. In less than 10 days, nearly 9 million caddies of potatoes were swiftly sold out. These gestures of generosity were warmly received by scribes and bailiffs, garnering praise for Lord and Madame Xiao. Upon bringing the potatoes home, families wasted no time in preparing and relishing them. Whether stir-fried, stewed, or prepared in other ways, the taste proved exceptional. The following day, conversations buzzed within the government office as many shared their enthusiasm. Families flocked to the market early to secure their share, drawn by the delicious, practical, and affordably priced product. The buzz around potatoes quickly enveloped the entire city. Restaurants experienced a surge in potato orders, with almost every table opting to sample the versatile tuber. However, notably absent from the buyer's list was the Fan family. Fearful of old lady Fan's disapproval, no member of the Fan family dared to purchase the potatoes, as it was Madame Xiao who introduced them to the city during Lord Xiao's baby's 1-month-old banquet. Chapter 1821. The Fan family won't buy. However, curiosity stirred among the Fan household. Some servants clandestinely purchased the potatoes, which families then shared among themselves, eagerly cooking and tasting the newfound delicacy. Even first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan personally instructed their staff to procure and prepare some in the household kitchen. The verdict? The potatoes proved surprisingly delightful. Whether in the form of sour and spicy shredded potatoes, or when incorporated into chicken and pork dishes, they offered a delightful variety of flavors. Observing the positive reception, first Madame Fan couldn't help but express her admiration to first Old Master Fan. If Madame Xiao's claims hold true, Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao have performed a great service for the people here. Such benevolence might attract heavenly blessings. Her gaze implied a caution against opposing Lord Xiao, hinting at potential repercussions. First Old Master Fan understood the subtext well, yet he lacked final authority within the Fan family's decisions. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan caught wind of the servants' fervent discussions about potatoes. Intrigued by their enthusiasm, she summoned someone to inquire. The maidservant, flustered and tongue-tied, hesitated to respond. As Old Lady Fan pressed for answers, The maidservant eventually divulged the truth, albeit clumsily. Enraged by the revelation, Old Lady Fan demanded further investigation. Upon learning the extent of the commotion, her fury only intensified. How dare you engage in such self-serving behavior, causing such a stir? Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao must be consumed by greed. With the sale of these potatoes, they stand to make a fortune in silver taels. Drawing from her experience as a member of the Nian family, Old Lady Fan swiftly calculated the potential profits, her displeasure growing with each passing moment. The ease with which Lord Xiao seemingly amassed wealth from 2,000 mu of arid land only fueled her indignation. It appeared, in her estimation, that money was being earned far too effortlessly. Those people lack foresight. They don't even have the right to curry favor with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Yet, they're all scrambling to shower Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao with gifts. Let's see how far that gets them in the future. Old Lady Fan complained and derided them. The servants dared not utter a sound, even in their sleep. Let me be clear, our family is prohibited from purchasing such items. Others may desire them, but I do not, she asserted firmly, prompting the servants to hastily agree. Yuezhing Xiao arrived bearing generous gifts for Ainan's 1-month-old banquet. Although Xie Jingron was absent, Yuezhing Xiao had arranged for the gifts to be delivered. Staying for 3 days, Yuezhing Xiao's visit prompted Xiao Xian to task Mian Mian with bringing 2 companions to assess properties in Yuzhong. With the year drawing to a close, it presented an opportune time to settle accounts with Yuezhing Xiao and collect any owed funds. Simultaneously, she planned to return to Shouting Village. Despite Yuezhing Xiao's previous correspondence, the personal touch of servants' visit held a different significance. Mian Mian excelled in managing accounts, bringing clarity and order to financial matters with ease. Xiao Xian was both surprised and pleased. She appointed 2 assistants to support Mian Mian, ensuring smooth operation and expansion of her enterprises without straining manpower. While Xiao Xian initially considered sending Ai home with Mian Mian, Xiao Yuan noted Ai's prior commitments, prompting Mian Mian to decline. With Yuezhing Xiao, there was no need for an escort. As rice ripened one after another, farmers began harvesting, aided by Xiao Xian's supernatural abilities, which significantly increased yields and accelerated ripening dates. Chapter 1822. Xiao Xian's plan to rice ripened 6 to 10 days earlier than usual, with harvesting commencing shortly after the Mid-Autumn Festival. By the 20th day of August, the autumn harvest was in full swing, filling the fields with activity and the jubilation of abundance. As they carried loads of golden rice home, families made extra trips compared to previous years. Though the work was heavy and tiring, their hearts brimmed with joy. Gratitude to Lord Xiao abounded in every farming family, with prayers offered to Buddha for his kindness. With a production increase of 30% to nearly 40%, worries about next year's harvest vanished. Lord Xiao was their benefactor, ensuring they would eat their fill even in lean times. In early September, the Fan family's rice fields also saw harvesting. Meanwhile, government-provided rice, already harvested and sun-dried, filled the granaries. This year's farming hiatus arrived unusually early. With Xiao Xian's approval, Songshi began hiring workers to continue exploration efforts. Of the 50,000 mu of mountains, only 5,000 to 6,000 mu had been previously opened. This year, efforts intensified to reclaim the remainder before the new year, aiming to plant everything needed. Seedlings were already under cultivation for the next year, with additional nursery resources secured for Sichuan pepper, star anise, pepper, cinnamon, and more. Madame's plans expanded beyond the existing 50,000 mu. Intent on acquiring another 100,000 to 200,000 mu, she envisioned a diverse landscape of tea plantations, medicinal herbs, bamboo forests, orchards, and poultry farms. Development plans included swamps, ponds for fish farming, and reclamation of fertile land. Only Songshi was privy to these plans, and his excitement was palpable. It presented a golden opportunity for him to showcase his skills, further solidifying his worthiness as the chief steward. Xiao Xian believed this location's proximity to Yuzhong meant its resources were more abundant, making it an ideal site for development and mitigating negative karma. With the road between Yuzhong and Yuzhong slated for repair within 2 years, transportation would vastly improve, reducing travel time from 2.5 days to a mere 2 days. Such progress was commendable. Even if they eventually returned to their hometown, managing businesses here would be effortlessly manageable. Come the end of September, Xiao Yunduan issued a notice for tax collection. Each contributor urged to exercise fiscal prudence. The commoners responded with enthusiasm, swiftly submitting their dues as the document made its rounds. Xiao Yunwan divided Zheng Sang, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and Ai Yi into 2 teams, each tasked with transporting the grains collected from towns to An's province and depositing them into the intermediate granaries in the city, accompanied by additional manpower. With this year's harvest surpassing expectations, the existing granary proved insufficient. Xiao Yunduan dispatched 2 additional scribes to oversee the construction of a new granary. All granaries were situated in the east of the city, prompting Xiao Yunduan to reprove a piece of land in the west for separate storage, deemed safer. As construction commenced on the new granary, Old Lady Fan and her daughter took to mocking the endeavor. During autumn harvest, mountain bandits from the Min family tribe, Tigerhead tribe, and Liuha Fort traditionally descended to request food. Historically, the 3 prominent families led in supplying provisions, each contributing a set amount for the bandits' transport. An unspoken understanding prevailed among the families, ensuring smooth cooperation without explicit agreement. Chapter 1823. Rules changed in the past. This situation stemmed partly from the government's struggle to collect taxes effectively. Each family's tacit acknowledgement of the mountain bandits' authority served as a means to maintain regional security, indirectly benefiting both the populace and the government. Consequently, tax payments dwindled. However, this laissez-faire attitude among the families led to officials having minimal influence. The lack of accountability allowed the families to become increasingly audacious, while officials begrudgingly acquiesced, unable to assert their authority. Prefect lords sought to distance themselves from this predicament, showing little concern for the issue. Consequently, year after year, the situation grew more peculiar. When Xiao Yunduan jokingly disclosed this to Xiao Xian, she found the situation incredulous, remarking, "Truly, the world is full of wonders." With Xiao Yunduan's arrival, the status quo demanded change. Aside from sharing the matter with his wife in jest, he cautioned her against venturing out. As Zheng Sang and their cohorts began escorting public grain, the 3 families, along with other influential households in An's province, approached Deputy Prefect Guan to address the issue. Though everyone was well aware of the situation, they sought to navigate through bureaucratic red tape. Deputy Prefect Guan, keen to stir trouble for Xiao Yunduan, approached him with candor. My lord, please don't be vexed. This is the state of affairs in An's province. We're constrained by circumstances. If there were alternative solutions, none would resort to such measures. However, this matter cannot be openly discussed at Xiao Yunduan, composed, responded, "The past is irrelevant to me. Henceforth, heed my directives. Trust that I have devised a plan." "You are astute," Deputy Prefect Guan replied, his smile unyielding. He continued with flattery, "I'm curious about your plan. Why not share it with me? After all, I've been entrenched here for many years. I don't mean to boast, but I possess a deeper understanding of the situation than Xiao Yunduan smirked inwardly. Understanding the situation was futile. The issue in An's province was hardly clandestine. Despite his thorough investigation, he had gleaned all necessary insights over time. He doubted Deputy Prefect Guan's superiority in knowledge. Moreover, even if he lacked comprehension, it was inconsequential. Action spoke louder than comprehension. "I have devised a strategy," Xiao Yunduan reiterated. "I will oversee this matter personally. Deputy Prefect Guan, rest assured, taxes from across the realm will soon fill the coffers, and you will oversee its prefecture city and its surrounding towns. Ensure timely delivery of all collected rice to the warehouse. But, my lord, if the banditry issue persists, the suburbs' 3 towns will remain unaffected. Are those cowards bold enough to assail the city? I think not. Xiao Yinduan spoke truthfully. Bandits targeted passing supply caravans, not urban settlements or their environs. Their resources were finite, limiting their capacity to strike beyond. Should the authorities retaliate, the bandits would abandon their plunder and flee. Chapter 1824. Arrogant Lord Xiao, they were not stupid enough to do something that would obviously not benefit them. However, these words made him feel a little uncomfortable. Coupled with Xiao Yunduan's arrogant tone, it made him feel even more displeased and disgusted. For some reason, Deputy Prefect Guan held back his anger. Yes, since you are confident, I won't say anything else. I believe that Lord has his own. Make haste with the tax collection, particularly from the Fan family. Clear? Understood, my lord. Deputy Prefect Guan sneered inwardly. He doubted Xiao Yunduan's grasp of the situation. Did he truly believe he had subdued the mountain bandits with his surprise attack on the Tigerhead tribe? Underestimating the adversary had led to his initial victory. If he insisted on being obstinate, so be it. He would learn the gravity of the situation when adversity struck. Then, he would inevitably come pleading. Zheng sang, Sun Bai, and their cohorts were well prepared. The delivery of the initial batches of provisions proceeded seamlessly. Observing this, Xiao Yunduan appeared smug and arrogant. He publicly posted notices admonishing the Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort, and Tigerhead tribe bandits to surrender promptly. He granted them a 1-month ultimatum. Should they surpass the deadline, he warned of dire consequences. He vowed to purge their mountain strongholds and restore peace to An's province in service to the imperial court. The populace was left dumbfounded. Most regarded Lord Xiao with skepticism. They questioned, has Lord Xiao lost his senses? Was it possible that Lord Xiao's self-satisfaction had driven him to madness? Did he truly believe that his control over these obedient commoners of Great Qin equated to the audacity to provoke bandits who reveled in bloodshed and treated lives as mere blades of grass? Those who were so brash often met grim fates. Aside from mocking and pitying Lord Xiao's naivety, everyone felt as though they were caught in a surreal reverie. It was unprecedented. None of the previous prefect lords had dared to openly provoke the bandits. They were resigned to their grievances, unable to even stand tall. It seemed like a fantasy to all witnessing this turn of events. Old Lady Fan and Fan Ruyan nearly burst into laughter. Fan Ruyan sneered, "This is rich. Lord Xiao might not last long in An's province." Old Lady Fan nodded in agreement. Perhaps he'd be scared witless by the mountain kings. Or worse, something dreadful might befall him. Naturally, he wouldn't linger. Fan Ruyan seethed. I won't let those who have used their power to shame our family off the hook. When the time comes, let's see whose influence they'll cling to, especially that scribe, Jairo back then. She hadn't realized just how vexing this individual could be. Old Lady Fan sneered, her tone dripping with disdain. Such a person doesn't leave himself any room to maneuver. There's no need to dignify him with attention. Just wait and watch. Fan Ruyan chuckled in agreement. Mother is absolutely right. Confident that Xiao Yunduan's departure was imminent, Old Lady Fan began strategizing anew. Thus, when Deputy Prefect Guan arrived to press the Fan family for taxes, Old Lady Fan resorted to her usual excuses. Traditionally, the Fan family settled their dues in cash, a practice that streamlined affairs in the province, benefiting all parties. This year's tax bill amounted to 7,000 taels of silver. Lord Xiao graciously waived the sum, considering it negligible. Chapter 1825. Bargaining. The Fan family brushed off such a trivial sum with indifference. Even its removal wouldn't assuage their ire or sense of injustice. In the past, their tax obligation amounted to a mere 400 taels of silver. Now, it had ballooned more than tenfold. Old Lady Fan sought to string Deputy Prefect Guan along until the irksome Lord Xiao vacated its province. Naturally, she intended for the tax issue to remain unresolved. But with Lord Xiao provoking the mountain bandits, how long would he remain? Deputy Prefect Guan. Old Lady Fan's reasoning struck a chord with Deputy Prefect Guan. He was so bemused by the situation that he almost burst out laughing. If Deputy Prefect Guan sought to stall, it ultimately depended on Xiao Yunduan's tolerance. Xiao Yunduan was adamant, pressing Deputy Prefect Guan for a resolution. He demanded a response by the next day. Failing that, he wouldn't hesitate to take matters into his own hands, personally visiting the Fan family in the postnatal realm. Numerous eyes were fixed on the Fan family. If they shirked their tax duty, how could others be expected to comply? Accusations of bullying the weak and kowtowing to the strong would tarnish his reputation as Prefect Lord. The dignity he painstakingly cultivated would crumble in an instant. To him, this was an unacceptable outcome. Deputy Prefect was taken aback. He understood Xiao Yunduan's steadfastness. Allowing Xiao Yunduan to approach the Fan family was out of the question. A pang of guilt struck him. What if the Fan family was implicated for concealing 40,000 mu of fertile land? With a heavy heart, Deputy Prefect Guan reluctantly acquiesced. The following day, he paid another visit to the Fan family. Old Lady Fan was naturally reluctant. She couldn't help but scorn Deputy Prefect Guan. It was no wonder he remained stuck in the role of Deputy Prefect despite the constant turnover of An's prefecture's leadership. He was utterly ineffectual. Lord Xiao effortlessly manipulated him with mere words. Old Lady Fan insisted that Deputy Prefect Guan see through the delay to its conclusion. Initially disinclined to entertain him, she begrudgingly agreed to remit 500 taels first, with the remainder to follow gradually. Money was tight for the Fan family, making it impossible to gather the sum immediately. Deputy Prefect Guan was incensed. As the esteemed Deputy Prefect, he had debased himself to this extent, only to receive a paltry 500 taels from the old woman. In the past, such an amount would have sufficed. But now, Lord Xiao demanded 7,000 taels of silver. How could he justify a mere 500? Was Lord Xiao so easily deceived? Who would believe the Fan family's claim of financial hardship? If they were truly cash-strapped, would they not be embarrassed to offer a mere 7,000 taels? To the average person, such an amount would indeed be substantial, but this was the Fan family we're talking about. Deputy Prefect Guan gritted his teeth, suppressing his frustration. He soldiered on, enduring the grind. Old Lady Fan's irritation towards him was palpable. She snapped that she would offer no more than an additional 200 taels euro, no more. After all, he held a significant position as regional prefect. Was it beyond his capabilities to execute a simple delay? Had his years as deputy prefect amounted to nothing? Deputy Prefect Guan felt suffocated. He had bared his soul, lowered himself to a humiliating extent, all for the sake of securing a meager 200 taels to dismiss the beggar. Aware of Old Lady Fan's stubbornness, he knew she wouldn't yield any further. Defeated, he returned to the government office with a total of 700 taels in hand. He had no choice but to persist with the delay. Chapter 1826. Stunned Deputy Prefect Guan had intended to prolong the situation until day's end, planning to address it the following day. However, upon his arrival at the government office, Qing Yin greeted him with a smile and promptly escorted him to Xiao Yunduan. Before Deputy Prefect Guan could employ his delaying tactics in front of Xiao Yunduan, the latter demanded the return of the funds, rendering any further discussion moot as he swiftly departed for the east courtyard. Anxious to explain himself, Deputy Prefect Guan attempted to enter, but Ai's stern expression halted him in his tracks. Frustrated and indignant, he retreated home, confident that Xiao Yunduan wouldn't dare take action against the Fan family. Little did Deputy Prefect Guan anticipate that Xiao Yunduan would not only summon the two elders of the Fan family to court the next day, but also inquire about their concealment of 40,000 mu of fertile land during a previous investigation. Xiao Yunwan had already dispatched investigators to uncover this deception, waiting for the opportune moment to wield it against Themyuro, a moment that had now arrived. With irrefutable evidence at hand, Xiao Yunwan was poised to expose their deceit. After all, concealing 40,000 mu of fertile land was no small feat and would not go unnoticed. The two elders of the Fan family were left dumbfounded. When Deputy Prefect Guan was presented with the situation, he found himself in a dire predicament. Xiao Yunwan sneered. Deputy Prefect Guan, do you have anything to say for yourself? To ascertain his accountability, signatures confirming the Fan family's land measurements were required. Deputy Prefect Guan's signature adorned these documents. He had intended to deceive the Fan family, but now others implicated in similar dealings would undoubtedly come under scrutiny. The evidence was damning. Euro Lord Xiao Euro, it was my oversight. Deputy Prefect Guan stammered, momentarily panicked before mustering the courage to admit his error. I was negligent and failed to conduct a thorough investigation. Please forgive me, Lord. He couldn't confess to collusion with the Fan family. He couldn't. Is that so? Xiao Yunwan presented the rechecked data alongside Deputy Prefect Guan's signed documents. His tone turned icy. Then you're gravely mistaken. Not only the Fan family, but the Lu family, the Feng family, the Liang family, and the Zhao family are all implicated. Deputy Prefect Guan, it appears you are inept at managing affairs. I am Perplexity Euro. How did you attain the position of Deputy Prefect? Deputy Prefect Guan felt a chill creep into his heart. Shock and anger contorted his expression as he gazed at Xiao Yunduan. He had fallen into Xiao Yunduan's trap. Initially anxious during the investigation, he had awaited Xiao Yunduan's scrutiny, expecting confrontation. Yet Xiao Yunduan had merely glanced over the results without protest, leading Deputy Prefect Guan to breathe a sigh of relief. He had presumed he passed the test and grew increasingly emboldened. He lent assistance to anyone who sought his aid. He assumed Lord Xiao would not have the leisure to return for further investigation. As long as no questions were asked, he believed he would safely navigate the ordeal. However, little did he realize it was all a meticulously laid trap. An oversight once or twice, or even thrice, might be attributed to carelessness. But to repeat the same mistake with over 10 families? Such negligence couldn't simply be brushed aside. Even if negligence were to be the explanation, it was far from a trivial matter. Deputy Prefect Guan broke out in a cold sweat, rendered speechless by the gravity of his predicament. Your conduct does not befit your position. It's time to relinquish it, declared Xiao Yunduan. My lord, and what of it? Do you have any further defense? Chapter 1827. Unable to withstand it at this juncture, Deputy Prefect Guan threw in the towel, his anger palpable as he sneered. This must be a trap concocted by you, isn't it? You've always harbored disdain for me, and you're intent on preventing me from holding the position of Deputy Prefect. Xiao Yunduan's sneer mirrored Deputy Prefect Guan's. Do you truly believe you're fit for the role of Deputy Prefect? Must I recount every misstep you've taken since I assumed leadership? The Deputy Prefect is meant to be the Prefect's right hand, sharing in the burdens. How much have you truly shared with me? There had been no sharing of burdens, only troubles and obstacles. Deputy Prefect Guan vehemently denied it. Lord, you're twisting the truth. Such absurdity. Deputy Prefect Guan, must I strip you of all dignity? Your transgressions haven't faded from memory. If I were to conduct a thorough investigation, do you truly believe your misdeeds wouldn't come to light? Deputy Prefect Guan's mind raced, his strength nearly failing him. But he couldn't yield. Xiao Yunduan's gaze turned cold, devoid of its usual gentleness. Surrender the Deputy Prefect's insignia and pay a fine of 500 taels of silver. You'll be demoted to the rank of scribe henceforth. Consider it a lenient punishment for your years of service to An's province. Otherwise, you'll face consequences far more severe than those warranted by your actions. Are we clear? If you're not convinced, you're free to decline the role of scribe. Deputy Prefect Guan's world seemed to darken. Meeting Xiao Yunduan's steely gaze, he realized he stood no chance against him. Had the prefect, Lord, anticipated this very moment? He had underestimated him, blaming him for underestimating his adversary. Trapped once or twice before, he had yet to recover. Now, ensnared in Xiao Yunduan's web without warning, he found himself in this dire situation a year ago, but it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. The bandits of the Min family tribe, Tigerhead tribe, and Liuha Fort would surely make their move. Did Xiao Yunduan believe he could handle these bandits as easily as the law-abiding citizens of An's province? He would relish watching Xiao Yunduan suffer a crushing defeat a year ago, and then, head rise again. Thus, he refused to leave the state office. A scribiro fine, a scribe it was. Thank you for your leniency, Lord. I erred first. Am grateful for the opportunity to remain hero. Deputy Prefect Guan swallowed his pride, yielding to Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan's expression remained impassive. He uttered no further words, neither reprimanding nor chastising Deputy Prefect Guan. Instead, he simply stated, "It's good that you recognize your fault. You may go." Effective immediately, Jia Heming will assume the role of Deputy Prefect. Ensure a smooth transition. Furthermore, you must vacate the residence within 3 days. With that, Deputy Prefect Guan bowed and exited, his heart heavy with the weight of his defeat. Deputy Prefect Guan's blood rushed to his head. He was embarrassed, hateful, and angry. He swallowed his anger and replied, "Yes." Lowering his head, he turned around and left. Such blatant abuse of power was simply intolerable. Despite his time, when those bandits from the Min family tribe and Tigerhead tribe inevitably came knocking, Xiao Yunduan would learn what it meant to be brought low. He swore to exact revenge for today's humiliation in the days to come a year ago. After seeing off Deputy Prefect Guan, Xiao Yunduan's attention turned to the two elders of the Fan family. Slowly, he fixed his gaze upon them. The two old masters of the Fan family felt as though needles were pricking their backs, their bodies stiff with apprehension. They stood there, overwhelmed by a sense of dread and confusion. How could they not be afraid? This Lord Xiao was ruthless and unyielding. He had turned against Deputy Prefect Guan without hesitation, stripping him of his position. Could they, and the Fan family, expect any mercy? Chapter 1828. Unable to leave the state office, the first old master Fan was perspiring profusely under Xiao Yunduan's penetrating gaze, his heart pounding with anxiety. "I confess, I'll pay the tax immediately, and for the 40,000 mu of fertile land I overlooked, I'll settle the tax for that too. Please forgive me, Lord," he blurted out. The second old master Fan chimed in hastily. Yes, Lord Xiao, spare me. I won't dare to repeat this mistake." Though they anticipated their mother's inevitable objections and the ensuing chaos, they couldn't afford to be concerned about it now. But would Lord Xiao be appeased without a hefty sum of money? Without it, they wouldn't leave the state office unscathed. What recourse did they have? Despair gnawed at them. To their surprise, Lord Xiao's demeanor wasn't as placid as expected upon their admission and offer of restitution. Instead, he smirked icily, fixing them with a steely gaze. "You two are quite obedient. Only now that Deputy Prefect Guan's duplicity is laid bare and he can't deny it, you suddenly find the courage to confess. But what if Deputy Prefect Guan hadn't been exposed? Would you still come forward? Is that what you believe? Do you truly think this matter concludes here?" Lord Xiao's voice cut through the tense air, his eyes drilling into them. "Do you presume me, so easily deceived, that I would allow you to maneuver as you please, advancing and retreating at will?" Cold sweat broke out on the brows of the two old masters of the Fan family. Initially confident, they now felt a creeping sense of guilt. They wouldn't admit it before being caught, of course. Even after confessing, Lord Xiao showed no signs of leniency. This prefect was indeed formidable. Xiao Yunduan's tone turned even colder. "I care not for your reasons, only the outcome. To withhold such information is to scorn the court and disrespect me. If I fail to administer severe punishment, what becomes of the court's dignity? What my authority? How can I maintain discipline? The taxes are paid, and the fine amounts to 1,000 taels. Are you satisfied? The two old masters of the Fan family trembled. Satisfied? Their hearts clenched with pain. It was a hefty blow. The second old master Fan attempted to negotiate. Lord, Deputy Prefect Guan's oversight led to this. He failed to investigate thoroughly. This humble servant was merely negligent, not willfully disobedient. Isn't 1,000 taels too severe a penaltiero? That's correct. This humble servant acknowledges fault, but surely the penalty need not be so severe. 1,000 taels. The mere thought of their mother's reaction sent shivers down their spines. The impending chaos was headache-inducing. Xiao Yinduan brushed off their protestations, his tone icy. There's no room for negotiation. Draft the payment details. They'll send the funds to the Fan family and release you. The two old masters of the Fan family were taken aback. Lord, escort them out. But, my lord, oh, if the silver isn't delivered, you want leave. No further discussion. Xiao Yinduan scoffed. Don't think I'll be fooled by any attempts to delay. The two old masters of the Fan family could only exit, crestfallen. The payment details were swiftly penned. The sum of compensation and fine amounted to a staggering 9,100 taels of silver. The brothers exchanged bitter smiles. 9,100 taels of silver. Would mother part with it so easily? The missive was promptly dispatched to the Fan residence. News of Deputy Prefect Guan's demotion and fine, resulting from collusion with the Fan family to exploit land and taxes, rippled through the government office and soon echoed throughout the city. Chapter 1829. Her heart aches for the silver simultaneously. Rumors circulated that Lord Xiao had issued another decree. Any oversights during municipal investigations were to be reported to the government office for re-registration. A surprise inspection was slated in a few days, and failure to comply would not be taken lightly. At the mention of this, countless households trembled with fear. Overnight, they scrambled to gather the required funds and surreptitiously re-registered at the government office. Coincidentally encountering acquaintances, they exchanged knowing nods, silently acknowledging the shared predicament. It was as though they were merely strolling through the government office, yet everyone was keenly aware of each other's presence. But that was a concern for another time. Meanwhile, the missive from the two old masters of the Fan family landed in the hands of old Lady Fan, igniting her ire. 9,100 taels. 9,100 taels. Lord Xiao must have a penchant for wealth. Those two sons of mine are utterly useless. They're in a panic over such a trifling matter. Fan Rian's distress deepened upon hearing the contents of the letter. Her heart ached at the thought of parting with the silver. Mother, we can't surrender the silver so readily. It's a disgrace to our Fan family. How will we ever hold our heads high in In's province? Nearly 10,000 taels of silver was no trifling amount. Old Lady Fan's lip curled in disdain. Indeed, it isn't. She was well versed in the art of negotiation. Given the exorbitant demand, she intended to haggle fiercely. At most, her sons would be confined to the government office for a mere 500 meters. She doubted Lord Prefect would dare to take further action against them. Tomorrow, she would dispatch the butler to negotiate. First, Madame Fan, and second, Mrs. Fan grew agitated. They couldn't contain their frustration upon hearing old Lady Fan's plan. She felt no remorse, but they certainly did. What kind of establishment was the state office? To even consider subjecting their sons to imprisonment there. Even if they weren't subjected to hardship, the stigma of being incarcerated in the state office was unbearable. Accustomed to a life of luxury with plush beds and soft pillows, could they possibly sleep and eat well in such a place? Is that any place for people? They lamented. Were they so oblivious to the impact on their reputation in the future? With tearful pleas, they agreed to bring their children, daughters-in-law, and grandchildren to old Lady Fan, hoping to sway her with their collective anguish. No matter what, they had to quickly bring them back. They could not ignore them like this. Fan Rin couldn't help but interject. Sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, let's not stir up trouble. Lord Xiao won't dare to make things difficult for us. Even if he keeps them there, they'll surely be treated differently. 9,100 taels of silver is not a trifling sum. Surrendering it so easily would only whet Lord Xiao's appetite. Wouldn't our Fan family lose face? We must negotiate. Why not foot the bill yourselves, sister-in-law and second sister-in-law? Second Mrs. Fan exploded in anger, retorting, "What nonsense are you spouting? Why should we pay? Isn't this an issue that concerns us all? Your own blood brother is the one apprehended by the authorities. Your words are utterly disappointing." Fan Ruyan, equally incensed, shot back, "The silver belongs to us all. You can't squander it so recklessly. Second sister-in-law, you're too hesitant to part with the silver for second brother's sake. What more is there to say?" "You, mother," First Madame Fan intervened, her tone frosty. "This silver is meant for taxes and fines. Isn't it a family matter? We can provide the funds, but we can't let them go for naught. Isn't this blatant coercion? Mother, he's your own son." Chapter 1830. Let's go together. If you're unwilling to retrieve them, then so be it. Why don't we all go to the government office and stay together with them? Sister-in-law, they'll have to rely on you to manage the household. Both families harbored resentment towards this woman who married into the family, yet received preferential treatment from the old lady. She seemed more like a true member of the Fan family than they did. Fan Rian felt slighted by the implication, but chose to remain silent, attributing it to envy. She offered only a cold smile in response. First Madame Fan said nothing further, leading her family to depart. Second Mrs. Fan swiftly followed suit, declaring, "Sister-in-law, we'll accompany you. Let's go together." "Very well. How dare you?" Old Lady Fan erupted in fury, slamming her hand on the tea table. "Are you both plotting rebellion?" Second Mrs. Fan defended. "Mother, why can't we stand together as a family in times of trouble? It may alleviate some of old master's embarrassment. At the very least, we can share in the burden." First Madame Fan remained silent, though she silently concurred with the sentiment. Old Lady Fan glared at them, her gaze sharp with indignation. She sensed their determination. Furious, Old Lady Fan staggered backward. They were all in open rebellion, but she couldn't possibly allow them to proceed. It would be a complete loss of face for the Fan family. "If you're so concerned about losing face, then leave." Old Lady Fan barked furiously. With a scornful sneer, she declared, "I'll go myself. Let's see if that Lord Prefect dares to detain me too." First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan exchanged a knowing glance and nodded in agreement. They didn't want to relinquish the silver without a fight, but the humiliation was unbearable. Would Lord Xiao even deign to speak reasonably? Would he negotiate with them? He had already subjected them to such humiliation. It was intolerable. If Old Lady Fan personally intervened, Lord Xiao wouldn't dare risk the responsibility if she fell ill or suffered any discomfort while in the office. He wouldn't dare allow such a scenario to unfold. Old Lady Fan's heart skipped a beat as she considered the proposal. It struck her as a brilliant idea. Of course, she wanted to accompany her two daughters-in-law. If she didn't assert her authority now, when would she? Prepare the carriage. He'll leave immediately. However, she deemed it unnecessary for her daughters-in-law to accompany her. As the matriarch of the Fan family, she needed to retain some semblance of dignity. Unlike them, she couldn't afford to compromise her standing. Before they could act, the housekeeper rushed in. Old Lady Fan, First Madam, Second Mrs. Fan, Mrs. Bai, Madame Xiao has arrivé or what? Everyone was taken aback. Fan Rian sneered. What audacity! What is she doing here? When the prefect's wife paid a visit, none dared to refuse her. Old Lady Fan instructed the juniors to depart, leaving only her two daughters-in-law and Fan Rian. She sneered, "Very well, let's see what she has to say. Bring her in." The women of the Fan family awaited her arrival with simmering resentment. Xiao Xian ushered Li Xia and Kai Wei into the room, while Yi stood guard outside the door. Typically, male servants weren't permitted in the backyard, but Yi's intimidating glare dared anyone to challenge him. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan rose to greet Xiao Xian, mindful that their husbands were still detained. Fan Rian shot a disdainful glance at Xiao Xian, her lips curling into a sneer. Old Lady Fan, asserting her seniority, remained seated, unwilling to welcome her. Chapter 1831. Xiao Xian's visit. In truth, Old Lady Fan's demeanor was frosty. As Xiao Xian took her seat, Old Lady Fan fixed her with a sneer. Madame Xiao, what brings you here to detain my two sons? Xiao Xian maintained a composed smile. Didn't Old Master Fan correspond with us? Old Lady? He elucidated the situation thoroughly. Our Lord has shown leniency by imposing a mere 1,000 taels of silver as punishment. However, anticipating any misconceptions, I've come to clarify matters. She extended a small token. This is a gesture of our Lord's goodwill. Fan Rian couldn't resist interjecting. Madame Xiao, you're correct. Our family's finances aren't bottomless. Isn't demanding nearly 10,000 taels a bit excessive? I speak plainly, Madame Xiao, please don't take offense. Indeed, Madame Xiao, second Mrs. Fan chimed in. Let's resolve this matter amicably. There's nothing insurmountable, is there? The Fan family is renowned in An's province. Lord Xiao's leniency grants us face, and naturally, the Fan family reciprocatisi euro. The implication was clear. In the future, the Fan family would collaborate with Lord Xiao's governance, ready to assist whenever he required their aid. First Madame Fan, wary of Fan Rian's potential arrogance, intervened with a smile. Second Mrs. Fan quickly echoed her agreement, eager to avoid conflict. Both women harbored a fear of the old lady and her daughter, especially Fan Rian. Her domineering nature had strained her relationship with her husband to the point where he seemed like a distant stranger. She couldn't bear to see others thrive, and her eccentric behavior extended even to her own family. Old Lady Fan huffed in disapproval, shooting a cold glance at her daughters-in-law, but refrained from speaking. In public, she understood the importance of saving face. However, Xiao Xian remained unmoved. She wasn't there to negotiate, but to deliver a warning. Mrs. Fan, you seem to have misunderstood. Xiao Xian maintained her calm demeanor. I believe there's little to discuss, correct? My lord has already displayed clemency. Old Lady Fan seethed with anger. Detaining her isn't letting her off. Xiao Xian met her gaze squarely. Isn't it? The Fan family concealed the truth, and according to the law, you should face fines exceeding 2,000 taels. Yet, our Lord only demands 1,000 taels. Isn't that an act of mercy? But even if we're required to pay, shouldn't he release our people from the government office? Old Lady Fan countered. We cannot release them without the full payment, as dictated by the laws of Great Qin. Xiao Xian calmly stated, her smile unwavering. First Madame Fan, if you doubt my words, feel free to verify them. We've only detained 2 old masters today. If the Fan family is truly reluctant to pay, our Lord deems it reasonable. However, we must thoroughly investigate this matter. Anyone involved must report to the government office for questioning euro, farm stewards, mansion housekeepers, old Master Fan's trusted aides, Madame Fan's household staff, and so forth. No one will be exempt. I believe a thorough inquiry will shed light on this matter. The members of the Fan family were all speechless. Chapter 1832. A bright threat, she was poised to upheave the entire Fan clan. Old Lady Fan nearly erupted with fury. Rising to her feet, she sneered. If that's the case, why don't you start with me, Madame Xiao? Why don't you take me back to court? No need for that. Xiao Xian replied with a gracious wave of her hand. You're too elderly for such proceedings. You can attend to your children. However, Mrs. Bai must accompany us. Why should I? Fan Rian erupted in anger. I fail to see how this is my concern. Xiao Xian was taken aback. Aren't you a member of the Fan family? Fan Rian flushed with embarrassment. Of course I am. Madame Xiao, don't sow discord. But why should I be involved in this? Exactly. Xiao Xian maintained her smile. Since the Fan family disputes this matter, our Lord must conduct a thorough interrogation. with all family members present to cooperate. You're no exception. Indeed, old lady Fan, you needn't trouble yourself. After all, you're elderly, and our Lord is compassionate. Fan reseethed with speechless anger. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan exchanged a glance, finding solace in Madame Xiao's words, for some inexplicable reason. Old lady Fan, capitalizing on her seniority, sneered defiantly. As the head of the Fan family, it's only fitting for me to attend the government office. That won't be necessary, Xiao Xian replied calmly, showing no haste. Old lady Fan, all you need to do is pay the sum. Insisting on attending could lead to complications. What if you encounter discomfort or illness? It would create unnecessary trouble. Then, if first Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan were deemed unfilial, you'd have to escalate such a trivial matter to court. Our great Qin does not tolerate unfilial behavior. Our Lord will ensure they are duly punished. Xiao Xian asserted firmly. Old lady Fan, already formidable in her own right, was momentarily taken aback by Xiao Xian's audacity. Fan Ruyan's eyes widened in disbelief. Had her understanding of the world been so limited? Could truth be distorted to such an extent? However, Xiao Xian remained composed, unfazed by their reactions. In essence, once the payment was made, all would be resolved. Otherwise, the Fan family would soon discover whether they could afford the consequences. Lord Xiao was resolute and would not relent. Both she and Xiao Yinduan had anticipated old lady Fan's obstinance, recognizing the possibility that she might exploit her seniority to evade consequences. If she were to claim discomfort or illness at court, Xiao Yunduan's hands would be tied. Hence, preventing her departure from the Fan family was their only recourse. As an elderly woman, she was shielded from interference by the deputy prefect, scribes, or constables. No one would dare lay a hand on her, except for Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian, being the prefect's wife, held a unique position. Old lady Fan was restrained in her presence. As women, Xiao Xian had the audacity to take action where others could not. If Xiao Xian could simply elucidate the situation, old lady Fan would realize she had no recourse. Feeling utterly despondent, old lady Fan was on the verge of exploding. She had never encountered such blatant intimidation before. Lord Xiao's obstinacy was exasperating. His wife proved to be equally troublesome. Her daughter's warnings seemed all too prescient now. Despite her hardened exterior, old lady Fan couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her son. Unaware of Xiao Xian's jest, she fixated on her with a venomous glare, then waved the 1,000 tael fine. We'll make amends. It's not that we refused to pay, but your officials were negligent. You can't hold us accountable. Chapter 1833. It's all his if we don't remind Themieuro. Why bother reminding them? We're not the ones who made the mistake. Xiao Xian couldn't help but notice the striking similarity in their excuses, almost as if they were mother and son. Deputy Prefect Guan, or rather Scribe Guan now, was just a disposable tool in their hands, discarded once they were done with him. The blame, however, seemed to fall solely on his shoulders. She pondered what his reaction would be if he ever realized the truth. Cooperating with the investigation is the right thing to do. If you can't comply, then accept the consequences. What more is there to discuss? Whether Deputy Prefect Guan is at fault or not, he will face the consequences. These are separate matters. Are you pretending not to understand? Deputy Prefect Guan is no longer in office. He merely levied a fine of 1,000 taels of silver against you, old lady Fan. That's quite generous, considering. Exemption from fines? Preposterous. Xiao Xian stood firm, refusing to budge, and she made it clear that old lady Fan wouldn't be allowed to leave either. If cooperation was denied, the entire Fan family would be summoned for further inquiry. Until the investigation reached its conclusion, no one would be permitted to leave. Whether the Fan clan descended into chaos due to this was entirely their concern. As for Xiao Xian, she would accompany old lady Fan and ensure she didn't cause any trouble at the court. Old lady Fan seethed with anger, her vision darkening with rage. The fire in her heart refused to die down. Xiao Xian had made one thing abundantly clear: settling the debt, and paying up would be the only way for the Fan family to salvage. Some dignitary old lady Fan instructed the housekeeper to fetch the banknotes from the accounts with a bitter smile. Lord Xiao, Madam Xiao, you've proven your prowess. We concede. Take this money and release my sons. She couldn't resist remarking, An's province has its own way of doing things. If Lord Xiao insists on applying rules from elsewhere to ensnare us here, he might find himself coming up short. Given Lord Xiao's commitment to the people, I wonder when he plans to tackle the bandit issue up in mountains? Ignoring such a significant threat doesn't seem quite right. Xiao Xian beamed proudly, blurting out, "Those bandits are no match. They're just lurking in the wilderness, and our Lord will surely deal with them. We've only recently posted the recruitment notice. Let's give them a chance to surrender." Old Lady Fan couldn't help but scoff. Is that so? Lord Xiao is quite the hero. Our Lord is both intelligent and courageous. Humph. Xiao Xian declined the banknotes, instead instructing the Fan family's housekeeper to take them to the prefectural office and bring back the two elder Fan masters. I've come here today to remind you and the ladies to clarify this matter to them. It wasn't right for me to accept the money. We must distinguish between personal and public affairs. Old Lady Fan and the others were left speechless after all that had been said. Now she was talking about distinctions between public and private matters. Desperate for Xiao Xian to leave, Old Lady Fan instructed the housekeeper to proceed to the court. As soon as the housekeeper departed, Xiao Xian rose with a smile and took her leave. Upon returning to the government office, Xiao Yunduan had already retired to his chambers. He greeted her with a smile, remarking, "If you hadn't returned, I was planning to fetch you from the Fan family myself." Old Lady Fan was truly obstinate. His wife had only just returned after some time. Chapter 1834. Moving out, Xiao Xian retorted sharply, "I am the prefect's wife, and the Fan family poses no threat to me." With the Fan family's affairs settled, Xiao Yunduan instructed his men to monitor Deputy Prefect Guan and urged him to vacate the premises. The western courtyard was thrown into disarray. Mrs. Guan's cries and shouts echoed, her piercing voice reaching even the eastern courtyard. Yet, she dared not confront Xiao Xian the Euro, whether out of fear or caution, perhaps warned by Deputy Prefect Guan. Ignoring the occasional curses hurled her way, Xiao Xian remained steadfast as long as she didn't give chase. Given Deputy Prefect Guan's dismissal, it was only natural for him to relocate from the government office's premises. There was no other choice. In the western courtyard, Mrs. Guan was devastated. Despite her prolonged tears, she couldn't find solace. It felt surreal, as if she had been cast into a nightmare. Was she no longer the deputy prefect's wife? Had her husband been reduced to a mere scribe? Setting aside the substantial disparity in income between the deputy prefect's annual salary of 200 taels of silver and a scribe's meager less than 30 taels, her social status had plummeted. How would she ever face society again? Initially refusing to budge, Mrs. Guan had regarded this place as her sanctuary, having resided here for so many years. However, the bailiff's ultimatum to vacate within 3 days or face expulsion by Lord Xiao left her seething with anger and resentment, prompting her to reluctantly order the packing of her belongings. Simultaneously, she dispatched people to organize the house. In addition to their current residence in An's province, they possessed another courtyard. It was neither grandiose nor modest, but sufficient for their family's needs. Yet, they seethed with indignation. Even if you haven't contributed lately, your past efforts speak volumes, old master. You've dedicated so much to An's province. How can Lord Xiao dismiss you so callously? It seems he's reluctant to admit his failure to shake An's province to its core and incite widespread panic. You've served as deputy prefect for a decade. What transgression warranted your expulsion? As Mrs. Guan continued, her despondency deepened. She exclaimed furiously, "I refuse to leave. I want Budgeonich. Let's see if they have the gall to forcibly eject us." If they dare lay a hand on my possessions, they'll challenge their authority. Is there no law for princes, kings, or rulers initially? Mrs. Guan had hoped to remain in the eastern courtyard, but now even the western courtyard was off limits. How could she not be furious? Deputy Prefect Guan glanced at her, his smile tinged with coldness, as he recounted the ordeal with the Fan family. You're well aware of Old Lady Fan's character, aren't you? She won't yield an inch to the Xiao couple. Do you honestly believe we stand chance? Mrs. Guan was left speechless. Don't let anger consume you. Deputy Prefect Guan sighed wearily, rubbing his tired forehead. His cold eyes betrayed no emotion. Just observe. This is merely a setback. We may yet find an opportunity to turn the tide. Mrs. Guan sneered, her teeth clenched. Fine, they'll heed old master's advice. En's province operates by its own rules. Let's see how it all unfolds in the end. Less than 3 days later, on the second day, Deputy Prefect Guan's family vacated their residence. Mrs. Guan's disdain for Xiao Yunduan was palpable. She stripped the house bare of anything movable, leaving not a single curtain behind. She even instructed the servants to uproot numerous flowers and trees from the garden, claiming she had planted them herself. Since she was leaving, she insisted on taking them along. The once lush garden was now a chaotic scene of upturned soil, broken branches, and scattered leaves, a testament to Mrs. Guan's spiteful departure. Chapter 1835. The opportunity has finally come. Xiao Xian remained silent, fully aware that she lacked the capability to overhaul the entire garden. But in truth, it hardly mattered. Her intention was to revamp the garden entirely. She envisioned adding more strawberry patches in one corner, alongside dragon fruit, lychee, longan, cherry, passion fruit, lemon, and various other fruit trees. Her plan was to plant at least 2 of each, ensuring an abundance of fresh fruits. As Deputy Prefect Guan's family departed, the family of Jia Hemming promptly moved in. Both Mrs. Jia and Mrs. Guan harbored dreams they never thought would materialize, residing in the government office's backyard. On the day of their arrival, Mrs. Jia paid a visit to Xiao Xian at the eastern courtyard. Her demeanor exuded humility without veering into flattery, making everyone feel at ease. Xiao Xian found this unexpected. Mrs. Jia, wife of Jia Hemming, proved to be a woman of virtue, far surpassing Mrs. Guan. Jia Hemming himself was elated. He had longed to demonstrate his abilities and achieve something noteworthy. Yet, each prefect lord had treated this land as temporary, fixating on departing as swiftly as possible. Naturally, none cared about leaving a lasting impact. As time wore on, Jia Hemming grew increasingly disheartened. Though he managed to eke out a living, he remained somewhat out of sync with the others, thus earning the disdain of Deputy Prefect Guan. However, there was nothing particularly remarkable about him. Deputy Prefect Guan saw some utility in having such an individual around, so he harbored no intention of ousting him. For Jia Hemming, leaving the government office voluntarily was out of the question. What prospects awaited a cultivated talent like himself elsewhere? His position at the state office, though sometimes idle, was still preferable to most other professions. Seeking a similar post elsewhere after departing its province would be nothing short of wishful thinking. Yet, deep down, he still yearned to forge a career. And finally, an opportunity presented itself. Replacing Deputy Prefect Guan didn't trouble Jia Hemming in the least. Lord Xiao had already displayed remarkable leniency by retaining someone with Deputy Prefect Guan's dubious intentions within the government office. Any other ruler would have likely thrown him behind bars. This significant reshuffling within the state office served as a sobering reminder for the families across its province. They grew more circumspect in their words and actions, realizing they could ill afford to underestimate the current prefect lord. If Deputy Prefect Guan, a figure entrenched in An's province for a decade, could be dealt with so swiftly, then others stood even less of a chance. There were whispers circulating among the populace, mocking the prefect lord for his perceived complacency and obstinacy. If he could dismiss someone like Deputy Prefect Guan, Who could he rely on? Jia Hemming? Who was Jia Hemming anyway? His name was virtually unheard of. Without Deputy Prefect Guan's support, the future of An's province seemed uncertain. Leaders from the Min family tribe, Liuha Fort, and Tiger Head tribe convened at the Min family tribe to address the recent grain thefts. In years past, the issue of food distribution hadn't been such a hassle. The government of An's prefecture and the affluent families maintained an unspoken agreement. These families would manage the distribution of food themselves, collecting and transporting it from designated locations with assistance from villagers. Of course, this food was provided by the city. But this year, not only did the prefect lord refuse to allow the city's wealthy families to continue supplying food, he also issued a ludicrous recruitment notice. What a farce! It was maddening. The trio managed to obtain a copy of the notice from a villager and read it aloud. It was both amusing and infuriating. Chapter 1836. Recruitment certificate. The bandits couldn't resist ridiculing the prefect lord, deriding him as a mere bukormuro, pedantic, absurd, and ignorant. They wondered if he had only ascended to his position this year. While they roamed the mountains, the prefect lord was likely burning the midnight oil buried in his books. To think he had the audacity to issue such proclamations to Thema Euro, it must have been a strain for him to fill a piece of paper with such nonsense. They yearned to descend the mountain immediately and teach that reckless prefect lord a lesson, to show him the boundaries of his speech. What a load of rubbish, this so-called recruitment. They felt insulted by such words. If they didn't know that the prefect lord had a handful of constables and subordinates skilled in martial arts, if they weren't aware of their grasp of the imperial court's constraints, they wouldn't have hesitated to raid An's province, let alone venture into the government office to stir up trouble. As they gathered, they couldn't resist mocking and jesting at the purported documents. Lord Xiao must have lost his mind. These scholarly types are all the same euro lost in their books. Yeah, he's quite confident. Let's see how that turns out for him. This time we're not just after food. We're going to give him a lesson he won't forget, so he learns not to overstep. A euro in the end. The bandits reached a unanimous decision. A euro. They would join forces in this endeavor. Failure was not an option. They were determined to deliver a resounding blow to that pedantic prefect lord with their actions. As luck would have it, they had learned that the next shipment of grain would be making its way back to An's province city from Liangshan town in 3 days' time. Liangshan town, situated to the north of An's province, lay 100 miles away from the city. En route, they would pass through a vast rock canyon spanning over 10 miles. The canyon, deep and lengthy, boasted towering cliffs on either side and treacherous peaks. Remarkably, this colossal rock formation was situated not far from Liuha Fort. It seemed like the perfect gathering point for their plans. The second-in-command of the Tiger Head tribe spoke with icy resolve. He'll lead the charge. Those constables are going to meet their end. After half a year of recuperation, his injuries had finally healed. But this matter had left him deeply humiliated. It felt like a stain on his honor, a wound that refused to heal. He couldn't bear the thought of facing his comrades with his head held low. Revenge was now imperative. Only by avenging his past humiliation could he regain his dignity. Moreover, he harbored a deep-seated hatred for the prefect lord. Despite his outward appearance of recovery, he knew his Buddhist foundation remained compromised. His strength and agility were but shadows of their former selves. If it came to a fight, his endurance would pale in comparison to what it once was. The momentary lapse in judgment had led to grave consequences. Euro. How could he not feel enraged? The fourth-in-command of the Min family tribe chuckled softly. I have no objections to you leading the charge, but let's not rush to execute the leaders. I prefer to capture them alive, bring them back to our mountain stronghold, and let you unleash your fury upon them. Second-in-command, Chao looked at him disapprovingly. The fourth-in-command of the Min family tribe grinned. Our fourth brother has taken a liking to that horse and wishes to pressure Lord Xiao into exchanging it for another. Second brother Chao, I do appreciate your assistance in this matter. In the Min family tribe, the first and third heads bore the surname Min, while the second-in-command and fourth-in-command adopted the surname Min as well, making all 4 leaders Min family heads. Second-in-command, Chow, frowned reluctantly. Exchange hostages? I can't guarantee their survival. Chapter 1837. Discussing the tribulation of food second-in-command, Min remained nonchalant. As long as Lord Shao believes they're still breathing and is willing to trade that horse, it matters little to me. Understanding his implication, the group exchanged knowing glances and chuckled. Even second-in-command, Chow, joined in, his laughter laced with a fierce edge. Fine, we'll nab him alive. Once he's in my grasp, he'll rue the day he set foot in this world. As bandits, reneging on promises to authorities was par for the course. So what if they didn't release him after securing the horse? If Lord Shao had the gall, he could come to the mountain and contest with them. Fourth-in-command Min chuckled, laying claim to the horse. That steed is a gem. I saw it first. None of you better lay a finger on it when the time comes. Second-in-command, Chow snorted. I'll only seek retribution. Though the others were tempted, fourth-in-command Min's declaration left them with little choice but to acquiesce with smiles. As the bandits plotted their grain heist, Xiao Yunduan, Zheng Seng, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Wu Guan, and the Wei brothers, sent by Meng Wanfu, convened to discuss the topography of An's province. Zheng Seng and the others, seasoned in military strategy, could easily anticipate the tactics of these unconventional mountain bandits. Lord Shao's arrogant attitude, epitomized by his measly offering of 1,000th of a tael, seemed to belittle the bandits as mere weaklings. Such hubris would undoubtedly stoke their fury. These bandits were untamed and boastful, accustomed to referring to themselves as princes, kings, and monarchs. How could they tolerate such insolence? How could they resist the urge to teach Lord Shao a humiliating lesson? Moreover, with the upcoming shipment of food passing through the treacherous rock canyon en route from Liangshan town, the bandits saw an irresistible opportunity for plunder. Despite the inevitable heightened vigilance from the government, they remained undeterred. Their lack of knowledge about the government's true strength, coupled with their belief that any previous defeats were due to underestimating the enemy, fueled their confidence. This time, they meticulously planned every detail. How could the government hope to stand against them? Xiao Yunduan cast a grave glance at his companions, speaking in a hushed tone. The mountain bandits may underestimate our strength, but we mustn't underestimate theirs. We must be thoroughly prepared this time. Remember, stay vigilant and never let your guard down. There's no room for mercy this time. Shoot on sight and capture the bandit leader alive, if possible. Yes, Lord. With Jia Hemming as deputy prefect, Xiao Yunduan felt a weight lifted from his shoulders. At least now, he didn't have to be as vigilant when organizing dispatches. Deputy Prefect Guan, or rather, Scribe Guan, was so enraged that he feigned illness and avoided attending court. He remained holed up at home, recuperating. Xiao Yunduan couldn't have asked for a better outcome and eagerly awaited his recovery. A few days after Scribe Guan and his family vacated the backyard, the Fan family unexpectedly sent a letter to Qiao Xian, inviting the prefect's wife and the deputy prefect's wife to their mansion to admire chrysanthemums, enjoy wine, and listen to opera. Mrs. Jia found herself in a quandary. She was reluctant to attend such a high-profile event, particularly at the Fan family's residence, which she suspected harbored ulterior motives. Chapter 1838. Fan Family's Treat. I've never attended such a large family banquet before. Am feeling quite unprepared and uncertain. What if I embarrass myself? Perhaps I should find a polite excuse to decline the invitation. We can discuss it further later. Madam Xiao, what do you think? Xiao Xian offered a reassuring smile. First, Madam Fan extended a personal invitation, so it wouldn't be wise to decline. Don't fret, I'll be by your side. And as the wife of the deputy prefect, even old Lady Fan will have to accord you some respect. What's there to fear? The Fan clan might be influential, but it's not a den of tigers. Just stick with me when the time comes. Well, Mrs. Jia couldn't refuse Xiao Xian's kindness. After some thought, she nodded with a smile. All right, they'll trust your guidance. and I hope you'll offer some advice. Don't worry, although I should caution you that Scribe Guan's wife might also be in attendance. Just be mentally prepared. Scribe Guan's wife? Initially unfamiliar with the term, Mrs. Jia's anxiety heightened as she pondered. Umayuro Qiao, Xin chuckled. It's no secret that old Lady Fan and the lady of the Fan family have never seen eye to eye with me. And Scribe Guan's wife isn't one to be underestimated either. She's not one to take being sidelined lightly. It's only natural for the Fan family to extend an invitation to her. Wasn't it obvious that he was aiming to stir up trouble and enjoy the spectacle? Mrs. Jia glanced anxiously at Xiao Xian. Indeed, Mrs. Guan was not one to be trifled with. Historically, all the scribes' wives had to cater to her whims. Those who failed to flatter her adequately or were simply not to her liking were met with disdain and ridicule. Jia Hemming had never found favor with Scribe Guan, and Mrs. Jia had been subjected to Mrs. Guan's mockery. Given Mrs. Guan's volatile nature, encountering her at the Fan family's gathering could easily lead to confrontation. Wouldn't that Mianayuro Qiao? Xin grinned. What's there to fear? We won't incite trouble, but we won't allow ourselves to be pushed around either. She's merely a scribe's wife. There's no need to be intimidated. If she crosses a line, give her a piece of your mind. She won't relent unless Scribe Guan intervenes, and I doubt he'd be willing to do that. Though still somewhat apprehensive, Mrs. Jia felt reassured by Qiao Xian's words. After a moment's consideration, she nodded with a smile. You're right. They'll trust your judgment. Qiao Xian's smile widened. Don't fret. If she oversteps, I won't hesitate to address it. Xiao Yinwan had been instrumental in promoting Deputy Prefect Jia, and during a conversation with Xiao Xian in the office, he expressed great satisfaction with Jia's performance. He was even pleasantly surprised by Jia's adept handling of various administrative tasks, marveling at his efficiency and organization. Since assuming the role of Deputy Prefect, Jia's capabilities had grown exponentially compared to his time as a scribe. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but feel fortunate. He had stumbled upon a valuable asset. It was only natural for Qiao Xian to safeguard Mrs. Jia. They were a team, after all. Mrs. Jia felt completely reassured. With a smile, she rose and took her leave. Chapter 1839. Just what I wanted. Xiao Xian paused, a subtle smile playing on her lips. She then instructed Li Xia and Li Qiu to fetch some attire suitable for the upcoming banquet at the Fan family's residence in a couple of days. Unbeknownst to Mrs. Jia, Xiao Xian regarded the Fan family's invitation merely as an opportunity to advance her own agenda. With Xiao Yinduan having already incurred the wrath of the bandits from the three villages, Xiao Xian was eager to provoke the Fan family as well. It could potentially yield favorable results. Both Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian harbored suspicions that these affluent families might have clandestine dealings with the bandits. The Mei family and the Hua family appeared to adopt a neutral stance, seemingly aligning themselves with whichever faction emerged victorious. Consequently, Xiao Yunduan deemed them unworthy of serious consideration. Banditry was rampant in An's province, forcing many to engage in covert transactions for survival. This was an accepted reality. However, the deep-seated animosity the old lady of the Fan family harbored towards Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian raised doubts about whether she would seek to establish any form of collaboration. Xiao Yunduan's strategy involved eliminating the mountain bandits before consolidating control over An's province's local power structure. This approach would facilitate smoother execution of commands, circumventing the need for incessant clashes with influential family clans. Few things were as daunting as the prospect of dismantling one of the three mighty clans, namely, the Fan clan. The Fan family likely never imagined that, in the eyes of the prefect, their reckoning loomed on the horizon. That morning, after spending some time playing with her son and attending to his needs, Xiao Xian entrusted him to the care of the nanny and maids. She then changed into her attire as a guest, tidied her hair, and dispatched a servant to summon Mrs. Jia. Xiao Xian's attire was resplendent, a vibrant satin gown adorned with inch-wide silver trimmings along the sleeves, collar, and lapels. Delicate begonia flowers were intricately embroidered onto the edges, complemented by a pleated white silk skirt. Her hair was styled into an elegant bun, accented by a peach-shaped red jade ornament with rubies and adorned with diamond-shaped beaded jade hairpins at the temples. With lightly brushed eyebrows, delicately tinted cherry lips, and a complexion akin to smooth jade, her minimal makeup enhanced her clear autumn eyes and radiant smile. Each gesture exuded grace and poise befitting the prefect's wife, commanding respect without appearing domineering. Mrs. Jia, too, was attired for the occasion, donning a silver-blue embroidered gown paired with a golden hairpin, emanating an air of dignified elegance. These matching grape ornaments were a special gift from Xiao Xian to Deputy Prefect Jia upon his recent promotion, exquisitely crafted and adorned with rubies and sapphires, exuding opulent splendor. This pair of golden hairpins was valued at around 500 taels of silver, a sum far beyond Jia Hemming's means. Upon receiving the gift, the couple was taken aback. Though they couldn't ascertain its exact value, they could discern its extravagance. Mrs. Jia hesitated to accept it, considering its exorbitant worth, and suggested returning it to Xiao Xian. However, Jia Hemming insisted they retain the gift, proposing instead to express their gratitude personally by sending a gift to the East Courtyard the following day. It was the first time Mrs. Jia had adorned herself with these golden hairpins to receive guests. Despite feeling a bit anxious, Xiao Xian's compliment eased her nerves. "These golden hairpins suit you perfectly, Mrs. Jia. They enhance your appearance beautifully. I have a knack for selecting gifts." "Indeed you do," Mrs. Jia responded with a smile, feeling reassured. Unperturbed by the anticipation of the grand entrance, Xiao Xian remained unfazed. Upon their arrival at the Fan family's residence, they discovered they weren't the last to arrive, though nearly all the guests had assembled. Chapter 1840. Confrontation. Second Mrs. Fan was hosting the guests in the garden pavilion, while First Madame Fan stepped out to welcome Xiao Xian. Fan Rian, adorned in resplendent attire, trailed behind them, wearing a smile. First Madame Fan's expression darkened momentarily, but unable to voice her thoughts, she relented. Upon spotting Xiao Xian and Mrs. Jia, First Madame Fan warmly greeted them upon their arrival at the mansion. Though no one else noticed, Mrs. Jia caught several disdainful glances from Fan Rian. Feeling irritated, she suppressed her emotions and feigned ignorance. Unbeknownst to her, Fan Rian's contempt for her deepened. In Fan Rian's eyes, Mrs. Jia appeared undeserving of her position as the deputy prefect's wife, seemingly elevated through sycophancy rather than merit. With a smile, Fan Rian remarked, "Madame Xiao and Mrs. Jia seem to share a close bond. The relationship between the deputy prefect's wife and the prefect's wife is truly exceptional." Xiao Xian shot her a glance before nodding with a polite smile. Fan Rian grudgingly acquiesced, but before she could question why Mrs. Jia hadn't been as close to Mrs. Guan before, First Madame Fan swiftly intervened. Sensing the impending negativity, First Madame Fan swiftly redirected the conversation with a smile. "Sister, are the pastries in the pastry room prepared? Could you please check for me? I'd greatly appreciate it." Though disgruntled, Fan Rian couldn't openly defy her sister-in-law's request. Reluctantly, she complied, casting a disdainful glance at First Madame Fan before departing. What was her sister-in-law insinuating? Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao held no regard for the Fan family. They had brought disgrace upon them, causing considerable financial losses. So why should she restrain herself from making a few cutting remarks? Did the Fan family now grovel at the feet of others? Since when had the Fan family become so feeble and susceptible to bullying? After being slapped, were they to eagerly present their cheeks for another strike? Was her mother's invitation merely a facade to reconcile with her? Did her sister-in-law remain oblivious to this? First Madame Fan extended polite greetings and ushered Xiao Xian and Mrs. Jia to the pavilion. The assembled guests greeted them warmly, with Xiao Xian reciprocating with a genial smile as she settled beside Mrs. Jia. Many women discreetly appraised Mrs. Jia. While some were familiar with her, most were not. However, today's gathering would acquaint them with her. As the deputy prefect's wife, Mrs. Jia now commanded a different level of respect. Henceforth, any invitation extended to the deputy prefect would naturally include his wife. Inviting the prefect's wife to a banquet was considered an honor. Several guests couldn't help stealing glances at Mrs. Guan. Known for her prickly temperament, her pallid complexion betrayed her inner turmoil. Despite her efforts to maintain composure, her visible tension didn't go unnoticed. Internally, many chuckled, yet a sense of anticipation lingered. It was evident that the Fan family's deliberate inclusion of Mrs. Guan was meant to provoke discord. It appeared the Fan family harbored a deep-seated animosity towards Lord Xiao and Madame Xiaoyuro. Chapter 1841. Meeting on a narrow path, Mrs. Guan braced herself for the challenges she anticipated facing that day. Despite knowing the ordeal that awaited her, she chose to attend nonetheless. Why should she stay away? Her conscience was clear. She had done nothing wrong. If anyone should feel ashamed or avoid confrontation, it was not her. With pursed lips, Mrs. Guan cast a chilling glare at Xiao Xian. Her gaze bore such intensity that it was impossible to ignore. Xiao Xian, however, met her gaze calmly, her expression serene, as though Mrs. Guan were no different from any other guest. Mrs. Guan's chest tightened. One thought echoed in her mind. What audacity! Why did Xiao Xian exude such self-righteousness? Observing this exchange, Mrs. Jia couldn't contain her satisfaction. Finally, Mrs. Guan faced repercussions. Witnessing this was immensely gratifying. The fleeting illusion dissolved as reality set in. Mrs. Guan was no longer the deputy prefect's wife, and her husband had indeed secured a promotion. Fan Rian rolled her eyes and addressed Mrs. Jia with a saccharine smile. Mrs. Jia, what a delightful surprise to have you here. Although we've never met before, today provides us with an opportunity to acquaint ourselves. You should grace us with your presence more often. It would afford us the chance to forge a deeper connection. Much like with Mrs. Guan, we're all quite familiar with each other here. Since you're a regular attendee, I'm sure you're well acquainted with Mrs. Guan, aren't you? Mrs. Guan's disdain was evident in her sneer, cutting through the air with clarity. Throughout the gathering, numerous glances exchanged conveyed subtle messages, laden with meaning or ambiguity. Feeling somewhat uneasy, Mrs. Jia sought solace in Xiao Xian's composed demeanor as she conversed with another guest, seemingly oblivious to the tension. Mustering her resolve, Mrs. Jia nodded in agreement with Fan Rian's compliment. Your kindness is greatly appreciated, Mrs. Bai. In her response, she tacitly endorsed Fan Rian's suggestion, signaling her willingness to engage more actively in social gatherings in the future. However, as Mrs. Guan contemplated Mrs. Jia's prospective interactions with the other ladies, attending lavish events, and being accorded the same respect she once enjoyed, a surge of irritation coursed through her. All of this had once been hers. Jia Hemming's efforts to curry favor with Xiao Yunduan, betraying her in the process, had led to her displacement and her husband's downfall. Mrs. Jia, whom she had scarcely acknowledged in the office, now occupied the position she once held. How could she possibly accept this? Rage simmered within Mrs. Guan, manifesting as a slight tremor in her body. She glared at Mrs. Jia with a sharp look. Fan Rian's bright smile adorned her face as she coyly covered her mouth, emitting a girlish giggle. Oh, you're far too kind. Your grace, virtue, and elegance are unmistakable. One glance is all it takes to discern that you're no ordinary woman. It's no wonder you've been blessed with such good fortune. I dare say your luck still lies ahead of us, doesn't it? Ha ha ha. With a genial smile, Fan Rian directed her question to the assembled guests, each of whom felt compelled to respond with smiles and nods of agreement. Mrs. Guan seethed with mounting fury, her grip on her handkerchief tight enough to fray its edges. She recognized Fan Rian's deliberate provocation, yet her anger wasn't directed towards Fan Rian herself. Instead, she harbored resentment towards Xiao Xian and Mrs. Jia. Observing Mrs. Jia's uneasy demeanor and awkward response, Mrs. Guan's rage intensified. How could she have been replaced by someone like her, who lacked eloquence and social finesse? Chapter 1842. Most reasonable, Mrs. Guan refrained from confronting Xiao Xian directly, yet she harbored no apprehension towards Mrs. Jia, whom she had never held in high regard. Nevertheless, she remained steadfast in her refusal to accept the situation. Fixing her gaze on Mrs. Jia, Mrs. Guan's smile turned icy. The story isn't over yet. Whether it's a blessing or not remains to be seen. With a smirk, she continued, "But I must say, your attire today is quite the revelation. As the saying goes, fine feathers make fine birds. You appear remarkably presentable today, almost unrecognizable from your former self." A few ladies couldn't stifle their amusement, discreetly covering their mouths to suppress their laughter. Mrs. Guan's thinly veiled mockery of Mrs. Jia's previous modest appearance, contrasted with her current perceived arrogance, did not go unnoticed. Mrs. Jia anticipated Mrs. Guan's taunt, yet found herself at a loss for words. Responding in kind would only reflect poorly on her character, especially considering Mrs. Guan's former position of authority over her. Thus, she treaded carefully, mindful of her former boss' sensitivities and her own gentle disposition. Xiao Xian interjected, directing a pointed glance at Mrs. Guan as she spoke with a placid smile. "Mrs. Guan, perhaps you're unaware, but today is a joyous occasion. As the wife of the deputy prefect, Mrs. Jia is naturally in high spirits, which reflects in her appearance. Naturally, she's inclined to dress accordingly, signaling a change from her previous status." Mrs. Jia expressed her gratitude to Xiao Xian with a nod. "I often stumble over my words, but you articulate things perfectly." Empowered by Xiao Xian's support, Mrs. Jia felt emboldened to assert herself. Observing Xiao Xian's defense of Mrs. Jia, Mrs. Guan's frustration reached its boiling point. During her tenure as the deputy prefect's wife, Xiao Xian had offered her no assistance. Instead, she seemed to single her out for criticism without cause. Jealousy and irritation consumed Mrs. Guan as she spoke up. "Hee, what's there to be so arrogant about?" Xiao Xian maintained her composure, her smile unwavering. "And what, may I ask, is arrogant about it?" Mr. Jia's promotion naturally brings joy and pride to Mrs. Jia as his wife. It's a simple matter of human nature. Who wouldn't celebrate a positive development? Surely, you wouldn't be pleased if faced with a demotion or adversity in your own family. It's only natural to rejoice in good fortune. "You," Mrs. Guan seethed, sensing Xiao Xian's veiled insinuation. With a serene smile, Xiao Xian continued, "Mrs. Guan, do you disagree with my assessment?" Mrs. Guan's anger threatened to overwhelm her. She scoffed derisively. "I wouldn't dare. Who would dare challenge the judgment of the prefect's wife? If we incur her displeasure, who knows what repercussions we might face?" Xiao Xian remained unperturbed. "No," she countered, "am known for my fairness, as I'm sure everyone here can attest. Only those seeking special treatment, insisting on being treated differently, would perceive me as unreasonable. As for transparency and outcomes, there's no cause for concern. Whether it's our Lord or myself, we prioritize transparency. If anyone feels uncertain about their situation, it's either due to misunderstanding or an unwillingness to acknowledge the truth. If you have any uncertainties, simply inquire, and clarity will be provided. Oh, don't claim you're too afraid to ask. Doing so would be quite uncivilized behavior.